Welcome to Hotline FN. This is episode 18 of the live call-in show for your hot takes, bold predictions, and unpopular opinions surrounding the competitive Fortnite scene. It's been a minute, it's been a while, it's been over a month again, but we're back with another exciting episode. I know it's not the most exciting time competitively, but there's still a lot to talk about. There's a lot to talk about with, as always, our co-host Balla TW, and this week we've got a really special guest, AussieAntics. So we're gonna start here with bringing these gentlemen in. We'll grab them both in at the same time. What's up, Balla and Aussie? How are you guys doing?
Good,
Hello.
Really
Very good.
Heck,
I'm dying of
yeah.
heat stroke, but I'm good.
How hot is it over there? You know, aside from being on fire.
I did it, other than being on fire. If you're outside of the fires, it's still, I did it on Fahrenheit today, so I knew I was going to get asked like 105. So pretty damn hot. But we're getting there. It's all right. We're getting there. Apparently you're freezing, so we all got our problems.
Pretty cold over here. Yeah, I appreciate the
cold.
on the fly translation to freedom units, as they were.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's all good. You're all good.
All right. Well, Balla, it's been forever since we last had one of these. What have you been up to? And I'll throw this question over to you as well, Aussie, in a second. But give us a little bit, Balla. What's been going on for you?
You know, just same old, same old. We've been grinding pretty hard, been pretty consistent with everything. I say every single time, we're just doing VOD and all that stuff. But, you know, it's Christmas. We took a little bit of a break, about 2 weeks for the new year. It was awesome. Got to spend some time with my family. I got to do a bunch of awesome personal projects that I won't speak to, but I'm pretty excited about those. Some big moves coming.
All right.
Pretty excited about all of that.
I see you.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that.
I see you upgraded your camera, your background. What is going on, Tim? It looks so good.
I didn't upgrade a damn thing. I dragged everything out of storage for this episode.
Body.
It's just, yeah, it's how we roll. Just fans, t-shirts,
that's a vibe.
stuff in the apartment.
I like it. It's clean.
We'll green screen it one of these days. Aussie, you're set up. You can have whatever vibe you want to have. So at least you've got that going for you. What have you been up to in the recent history?
Not much. I mean, yesterday was a big, exciting announcement for me. It was the fact that I'm now officially commentating the Australian Open.
Woo,
which I'm super stoked about. That's
congrats.
Thank you. Yes, I've been working for that for a while. It's been in the works for a couple of weeks now, but I had to wait till I could like officially announce it. So like 2 weeks of just looking at chat. Hey man, are you going to be going to AO? It's like, oh, I hope so. Like every time it was killing me.
I'll be there, but I don't know if I'm going to be
yeah, they're basically literally, it's like, oh, I'd have to keep saying that, like if I'm casting or not, I'll be there, but you know, like hopefully, fingers crossed. But no, yeah, that's super exciting. I've been working for that for a while, only because I've done another LAN event before, but AO being the big one. If you guys haven't heard the details on it, obviously it's not just OCE pros now, it's also internationals. So it looks like pretty much the biggest tournament OCE's ever really had. So last major LAN we had was, you know, early 2019. So kind of still in the infancy of tournaments. It was still super exciting, but there's a lot of new names that have come up, and I wanted to make sure I was the one shouting them out. And just, I've watched these guys for hundreds of hours, and you know, like it's nice being able to shout them out to a few hundred viewers, shouting them out to the viewership that I think this is going to get will be next level. I'm so excited. That's pretty much it for me. Other than that, I've just rewatched all major tournaments, almost all of them. My schedule has been, I think I've watched both the World Cup finals, Katowice, I've done, Secret Skirmish, Summer. I'm trying to catch up because again,
I've grinded through it all.
There's nothing going on. Hey, there's nothing going on. You got to put the content out there.
I needed the history. I needed some like background, you know what I mean? Like those events, and like I know them roughly, but I wanted to know them properly if I was going to do this. So yeah, it's been basically that. Again, what we've all been doing, trying to kill some time, right?
Heck yeah. I want to, before we hop into these, everything we've got to talk about, I want to reiterate real quick the format of the show, which is that you can type in !Hotline FN, and you can either tweet at us for end of the show, last minute questions, but the majority of the way you get on this show is you call in, all right? You join the Discord, you submit into the topic screening channel your hot take, bold prediction, or unpopular opinion. We're specifically looking for those three things. This isn't, hey, Balla, I got a question. This isn't, hey, Tim and Aussie, you want to try and answer our question? This is, let's talk about your takes. You know what I mean? Let's do it. So hop on in the Discord and get sound checked, and we'll bring you in. You know, sometime in the next half hour here, we'll start taking these viewer topics. So that said, obviously we've got not a whole lot of events happening right now. We have a lot of these sort of, third-party events happening, right? Smaller cups hosted by different organizations or Discords and that kind of thing, going all over the place. Have any of those in particular piqued your interest, Aussie or Balla? Anything you've been looking at?
Not really. I mean, there's been a couple pretty decent ones. Most notably the War Legends Invitational that happened. That it kind of wrapped up in mid-December, late December, kind of after FNCS.
Hmm.
But that lost steam because it was squads, and we had just finished squad season, and duos got announced, so nobody really cared that much, even though it was a $50,000 tournament, which kind of sucked. But besides that, I think it's just AO that people are looking forward to. I don't think I've seen any interesting tournaments at all.
Yeah, I'd say the same. I mean, War Legends, I think that was really cool. That was obviously, but even then, like it was weird the way it was finishing because it was a format that was getting ousted, right? Squads. So it was like exciting. You wanted to watch it and it was cool, but it was like, well,
but it was done.
I feel like after it was done. I was like, I don't really have as much invested in finding out who's the best EU squad anymore because it's like, well, it's not really going to be relevant for the future of tournaments and stuff. So yeah, I think basically only real one I've been looking at AO. I mean, I don't know, I might be jumping forward in the topics. The only other third-party tournament that's piqued my attention recently was obviously all the drama that came out today. So that's pretty much the only one that I've had, which I think is going to sour some people's opinions of third-party tournaments as well. That definitely doesn't help the already, questionable area that is third-party tournaments, sadly.
Yeah, I mean, there's just not a lot of tools. Well, we can get into it, but I mean, obviously you're referring to the whole situation with Stride, right?
Yes.
Balla, do you want to kind of give a quick synopsis of what's gone down just in the last couple of hours here?
Yeah, I can do that. It's basically there's an organization called, I think, Stride Supremacy was the full name of the org, and they signed players, they signed pro players to play under their name, and I'm not sure exactly what the terms of their contracts and stuff like that were, but supposedly they signed these players to play for them and compete under their name and give them exposure and whatnot, and also to their sponsors, whatever. But they also did giveaways on their Twitter. They also ran a tournament, which was the Stride Cup. I actually did a VOD review that was about the Stride Cup. It was Mongrel and Benji who played in that, and I watched them as we got ramped up into World Cup, or not World Cup, Winter Royale. But basically, it was all fake. This guy Kizzy lied out of his ass and didn't do anything that he promised. He said he had money. He said he was going to pay people. He broke promise after promise, broke whatever, agreement that the players and him made. Nothing was given. And now we're here. So yeah, we got to be more careful. This is not new. This is not new in any sense.
Sadly not.
Especially even in the Fortnite scene, right? ECA, all this sort of thing. But in esports in general, this has happened hundreds of times. Big organizations have even done this. Like, if you guys go back, you probably don't even know when I say the CPL. CPL did basically the same type of crap. They just didn't pay people and they lied about stuff, and then they, ran away, and all of a sudden they were
Peace
gone.
out.
So the same thing happening here.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. I mean, there's obviously a lot of specifics around it, around the specific conversations that were had and the tools of manipulation used, right? And I don't want to talk necessarily too much on those things until we have more insight. I know that Levin2K, his podcast tomorrow, he's going to have multiple members from Stride on to talk about it. So I don't want to step on Levin's toes too much here. I mean, obviously he's going to have a much better show for that.
Stride.
Yeah.
I hope so.
I still stand with Stride, the org that doesn't exist.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, I think without the specifics, not too much to talk on, but it's more saying those overlying points of like, get someone to read your contract, have a good understanding of what's going on. Again, I know, Balla, you made some tweets today about it, which pretty much summed it up perfectly. If you're not renegotiating a contract or seriously asking questions, you either got a very, very lucky contract or you're not reading it properly. It's very normal. A lot of these people are younger. They haven't gone into a lot of professional environments in general, but contracts are meant to be negotiated. They're meant to be talked about. It's not just you get it, and if you don't want to sign it, that's it. You talk to them about it. You make sure it's okay. If they're a good org, they're gonna talk you through the contracts. They don't want you to sign something that you don't want to sign. It's really, really simple, but unfortunately, I think younger players especially get excited. They hear the money, they hear all the glitz and glam, and they trust people's words over what's on the paper. At the end of the day, what's on the paper is what's going to keep you locked in, not the words from their mouth. Like you get what's on the paper, you don't get anything else. So that's just what you got to remember with this stuff.
Yeah, I remember being right after, not to throw shade at anybody, but I remember right after.
I think shade needs to be thrown a little bit in this situation.
Right after
you've gone past that now.
Well, I mean, it's not the same thing. It's just right after Calculator, right after Adam, right after Calculator kind of started to blow up, right? I remember watching a stream and he was on a Discord call with a few other younger pros who were all looking at signing and looking at orgs at the same time. Man, the hubris in that chat of these guys like, nah, I don't need a lawyer. I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Bro, you don't. You
Yeah.
don't. I'm
It's
listening
a
to you.
different
The
thing.
You
lies
don't.
in the players too.
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
things that I've heard about contracts, like
Oh,
the things that I've heard about these guys telling each other about, like, oh, how much that guy's getting paid, how much that guy's getting
Yeah,
paid.
yeah.
They lie and
Yeah,
they
for
listen
sure.
and they believe this crap. It's like,
Yeah,
guys,
no.
this isn't. I mean, sure, share your whatever you want to share that you feel comfortable sharing, but you guys do not know. Trust me, I have
No.
been signing contracts for plenty of time, and I've read these things, and I've been in situations where I'm like, well, actually, I don't like. You. Here's the thing: you just have to admit what you don't know, and what you don't
Yeah.
know is the law, and you don't know
100%.
how these certain things
Yeah.
work, and esports contracts in general. There's so many things that organizations, like shitty organizations and scummy people like Stride, who will put things in to take
Yeah.
advantage of you, specifically to take advantage of you, and it looks like meaningless crap on the outside, but no, it's specifically
Yeah.
to be predatory on people like the pro players in our scene, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's written in English, but at the same time, there's a very complex like background to it. It's like trying to read something that's like an engineering paper. You might understand the words, but you're not going to actually get what's going on and how much it means. Like, get someone to read it. It's
Yeah.
so much cheaper, even if you have to pay for someone's services to get someone to read over your contract. Or again, and I see a lot of people reach out to their friends. It's just blind leading the blind. Reach out to
Yep.
someone who actually knows and has a reason
Yeah.
to want to help you, or has no reason to not want to help you, if that makes sense. Like, you know what I
Yep.
mean? Go to someone else maybe who runs a legitimate org. If you've got a relationship with them, ask them to read over it. They have nothing to gain from telling you if it's a good or bad contract. You know what I mean? They're just going to be honest
Yep.
with you. Like, it's very, yeah, I think there needs to be a lot more transparency as well. Like you
Yeah.
said, with pay and stuff. I know we've been raised and I want to talk about how much money you make and stuff, but in the, like in the esports organizations, we need to know, because there's no like set piece or anything. Like, no one knows. And it's really, really shady. So I don't know. It's hard. Yeah. And then I want to say, you know, trust orgs and the reputation. But again, all I've seen on Twitter, I didn't follow the whole scene that much. Like, I didn't know that much about Stride until today. It was like he was such a good guy. He always seemed so nice, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, but that doesn't mean anything. It's easy to sound nice when you're talking about
Yeah.
giving kids new computers and paying people a whole bunch of money. Of course, people like you. See past it.
Well,
Always
let's
gotta
talk.
think, remember, an org business, what are they gaining from you?
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
they're giving you this, what do they gain? If it doesn't match up, it's probably too good to be true. It's a very,
Definitely.
very simple equation in life.
100%. And let's talk a little bit about the cup specifically, right? Third party event that just says, in the end, it boils down to, oh, sorry, we're not paying out. Like, we got all of you involved, got all of you streaming, all of you repping, you know, the name of our organization, and we're gone, right? What is, you know, in the past, you know, even T1 has dealt with situations, or Balla, you've dealt with tournaments where people have griefed the custom codes, and there's just not really a lot you could do about that. You know, you just have to trust your
Yeah.
invitees. In this situation where the trust is the other way towards the organization runner, or the event organizer, sorry, you know, what direction do we move into to stop this from happening? Is the answer just only playing events where you're sure you can trust the organizer? I mean, that doesn't leave any room for new organizers,
Yeah.
right? Like, are we looking in a world where we need to start implementing third party like prize holders, you know, and just have a couple of really well trusted prize holders? Is that a thing?
This is such a good question, a complicated one that we can get into a bit, but like no, for real, think about it. Like, how do we encourage new organizations to get involved where, you know, established organizations like Face It, like T1, like a lot of these, sure, we got T1 on board now, but a lot of these big organizations are looking at the Fortnite scene. They're like, oh, how do we run a tournament? I don't know what to do here. Like, so the only people who are stepping up are people like War Legends, are people like the Fishy Cup guys, AHJ, I think is in chat already.
Yeah.
Like, there's a bunch of these guys who are running tournaments, and they're doing it, you know, semi legit. And I'm not going to say they're doing it wrong, but there's a lot of things that we're missing. There's a lot of things like licensing with Epic that people are just completely overlooking. The supported creator license is there for a reason, and it's very, very particular about what you can and can't do with the game when you're running tournaments. There's a lot of that stuff that is completely being missed. Sponsor stuff, all this broadcasting, there's so much being missed because we just have inexperienced tournament organizers. So if we don't play them because we don't trust them, then they're not going to learn how to do this correctly. So we have to support them. We have to play them when we can. But at the end of the day, like, we got to be careful, because stuff like this will happen, and it's not going to be the last time, especially as it comes to tournaments. I guarantee you there's going to be new tournaments that pop up. There's going to be like, yeah, we got the best of the best pros, Mongrel, Mitro, all these guys, and no payouts. I guarantee it's going to happen. This is not like there's literally nothing we can do to really protect against that, except not do it, but I'd rather do it than and find the bad actors and find the good actors than not do it.
Yeah, especially.
I think the third party system's okay though. Like I think as far as like a temporary one, I don't think it's an overall solution. I think Balla's touching on the fact that it can be done way better. But I mean, I've done a few, probably at least maybe like 5 to 10 grand worth of my own tournaments and stuff, whether it's entry fee or just my own money or sponsors. And it is, you have to find someone whose reputation's worth more than, I mean, I still think this was so unbelievably stupid just because, but the amount of money that once I've researched, I was like, man, people must be owed like thousands, tens of thousands from this tournament. The payout wasn't that ridiculously huge. It is not worth your reputation whatsoever. But I think it does help if you have someone who's not invested, who's literally just the in-between. But then that makes it more shady again. It just needs to be legitimized. You know what I mean? Like, it needs to be a lot more legitimate.
It's hard because the current situations, you just kind of have to trust somebody, even with a third party, like you said. You still have to trust someone, right? And so I think that there's room here. There's a need here to be filled, and I don't know if it can be filled, in a technically accurate way where you remove that aspect of trust. But if it can, and that does happen, that person's going to make some cash, and not just in the Fortnite scene, right? So I mean, that's kind of like the crux of cryptocurrency, right? I mean, this is getting deep, and it's going to turn into an economy discussion. But like, that's an intense question to try to be able to solve, right? The transferring of money without the need for trust.
Yeah. So that's a whole separate topic. But one thing I do like, I don't know much about that, so I can't really speak to it. But one thing I can speak to is the amount of worth and value in running these tournaments. You'd be surprised. A $1,000 tournament prize pot. They get all the best of you players to play because guess what? There's nothing else. Okay. So $1,000 prize pot. The players don't necessarily really care about the prize pot. Some of them might. Okay. But they're playing a tournament because they want to win. They want to be the best. Think about the stream numbers that tournament is getting, regardless of their broadcast. They could not even have a stream, and all the players that are playing in it are streaming. Think about the numbers, the viewership numbers that they bring, the amount of eyes that they get on their tournament name, Stride Cup or whatever, right? We're talking about it even now, right? The reach of the Fortnite scene is unbelievable, and that alone is worth so much money, much on Twitter, on Twitch, on all this stuff. There's literally so many eyes, and the first tournament organizer to really take advantage of that is going to be, I mean, I think they're going to be really happy, especially online tournaments. LAN tournaments is a separate topic, but once we finally figure out how to run Fortnite tournaments properly with the best of the best players, then all of a sudden it's going to blow up. I think there's a huge potential.
Yeah, there is massively. I think it's hard as well because a lot of this stuff blows up whenever we have this break, right? Like that's obviously not the topic we're going to talk today. It's quite a dry patch for competitive, and you said that as well. Like they play because there's nothing else. When you've got the actual season going, having like 3 Cash Cup nights a week, and then at one point when they had the banner tournament as well, which just took players whether it was worth it or not, they just played because it was. And then you got FNCS both weekends. There's really not a lot of time for it as well. So I don't know. I think it's a topic worth having because you can do some really, really cool stuff like Balla said. Like if you just make a tournament, get all the big guys like, hey man, you want to play in a tournament? It costs you nothing. You have a chance at money. It's good practice. Just put this name in your title. Maybe have a command in your stream. Like that's more than a lot of sponsored streams would get from companies who pay a lot of money to legitimate streamers, right? Like you do a sponsored stream for a product. Let's just pick a random one. Let's pick like crackers because that it doesn't actually touch anything. It's just biscuits. If you have that as your sponsored stream, you have it in the title, you have a command, you have 200 viewers, people get paid a lot of money for that. It's ridiculous. So if you have a tournament that like you've got people like Mongrel and stuff playing in with their viewership, it's ridiculous amount of advertising and we're just not legitimizing it. It's just not happening at all, which is incredible. Like it's the one game it doesn't happen. Again, I know it's harder because we've also talked about the tools. We talked about that earlier. Trying to run a tournament is very difficult when it's just the code gets given out. I know things like Unite registration bot and stuff is getting better, but it's still very easy and very common for tournaments just get griefed, which makes it so hard to bring like someone on legitimately because you just always have to have that element of, look, we might not be able to control it, or they want, or what's
we
happening.
We might have to cancel the whole thing. Yeah.
Why is there 5 people running around eliminating everyone as a group? Oh, well, sorry, we can't really stop that. The sponsor's not going to be happy though. So I think we need the tools.
PTSD.
I know, I'm sorry. You know, I've dealt with it too. Like my streams and stuff started with tournament organization. It's bad. Yeah, it's hard. So I know what you're feeling there. So I think it's tools. And then once we have the tools to then guarantee a certain kind of thing and like how a game's going to run, then we can then talk about the other stuff. But I don't know if any of the other talk is relevant until we can control who gets into a game and how it's played in some legitimate way.
Facts. Epic, please.
Yeah,
please, good custom tools, please.
Between the lack of control of the
For
event,
so long.
yeah, between the lack of control, like actual control over the event, and I mean that's really it. Lack of control over the event, and then Epic's insisted control over each of your events. Between those two, like it's super hard to bring on the kind of money and sponsorship that we really could be, right? That we could have been doing for the last 2 years, right? So
I mean, to be frank, Epic doesn't do that well either in terms of, capitalizing on the sponsorship. I mean, they do great in terms of capitalizing in sponsorships for their game, but when it comes to the competitive Fortnite, I don't really see much in terms of maybe it's not public facing, but it doesn't feel like they have, right? Their broadcasts are not getting the viewership that they need and more. But anyways,
totally.
Balla. The thing too is these off seasons are kind of like pretty good to actually work on those tools. So,
here's hoping, right?
We've launched 2 new chords for T1 and stuff like that. So these off seasons are great. They're booms for those.
Definitely. Balla, you want to go grab a caller real quick, and we'll get the show on the road here. We are gonna try to do things a little differently this week, guys. We're gonna talk about some predetermined topics as well as bring people in when they seem fit. So as you're submitting your topics, you're putting in an ! Hotline FN. Just make sure, just be sure to recognize that we may not necessarily get to everybody if a lot of people are trying to call in, and it may be a minute before we get to you. Just kind of things you're gonna have to deal with us. Aussie.
Yeah, I think a lot of you guys asking about the whole talking about with the Stride people, the people personally involved. Like Tim touched on earlier, guys, Levin's going to have them on tomorrow. They're going to get their say. The word's going to get out. We don't really have the tools or the background today to really have it turn into, I think, a constructive conversation. It'll probably just evolve into a giant slander fest, and it's just I don't think it's what's
he said,
worth it
she
today.
said that they said.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. For the people involved and for the situation, I think it's better to let it handled properly tomorrow when there's more time to get all the information and have it go in and be handled properly. So I don't think it's because we don't care. I can see it in chat. It's just because we care enough to know that this isn't the best way to do it. On that one.
Yep. To reiterate, that's Levin2K. You can find him on Twitter and Twitch as well. He does a podcast. He's going to be putting that up on YouTube as well as all the podcast channels, and he'll be doing it live tomorrow. So that's something important to keep an eye out for. Also, that being said, a little more housekeeping while Balla gets his guest all sorted out. We've got 17 episodes of backlog to go through. I know not everything's relevant, but if there's a pro you're interested in hearing a little bit from, Kuna, Elevate, Bucky, these sorts of guys, go ahead and check that stuff out. Balla, we good to go?
Yes, sir. We got our first caller.
Hey, what's your name and where are you calling from?
What's up? My name is Kuske, so you can call me Thomas. That's probably easier.
Thomas, hey.
And I'm calling from Norway.
Hey, Thomas.
Norway. Welcome. What do you want to talk about today?
I want to talk about the Snowstorms. I think they can be awesome mid-game, but because you can easily rotate because nobody can see you. But I hate them early game and late game.
Okay. Yeah. Why do you hate them early? I mean, I can assume why, but if you want to put words to it.
Yeah, because I can't see where I'm going to.
Oh, who'd have guessed?
Yes,
who'd have guessed that was it?
Yeah. That helps sometimes.
Definitely.
Sure.
Yeah, my take on this is something kind of interesting where I hadn't been playing Fortnite for a while over this break and kind of got back into it in the last couple of weeks and was like, this is almost cool, but otherwise just frustrating, right? No game mechanic is to me really usable or even good if it's not predictable. Right. That's something that's very frustrating. I think that Snowstorms could have a really interesting impact on, like you said, mid game rotations, even late game rotations, if it was predictable, if you knew when they were going to happen, some kind of warning in the next 10 seconds, it's going to happen, that kind of thing. So you could play around it. And then you could do a lot of interesting things. The way it is right now to me is you can do a lot of interesting things when it happens, or it can totally screw you and you can't do anything to mitigate it or put yourself in a position to best abuse it, because there's no clue if it's going to happen or not, right? I don't know. What are you thinking, Paul?
Yeah.
I think me and Aussie, we watched the Chinese AO qualifiers yesterday, and there was a bunch of Snowstorms and people were using it in tactical ways. I don't know. We talked about it on cast yesterday. I feel like it's not that big of a deal. It's something that we can kind of play around. I wish that it was the kind of ways that you're talking about, Tim, but it's not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. It lasts for a short time. It's localized and you could play around it. In fact, you could use it for interesting little things. This is not something like the mech. This is not something like, I don't know, removing siphon or something like that. it's a little thing that's definitely limited time, and who knows? It is kind of fun a little bit in some cases.
I think the interesting part about it for me is the fact that this is the one thing that's gone into competitive compared to everything else, right?
Yeah.
So like, I think Epic's done a phenomenal job of splitting the competitive and pub loophole finally.
Separate
and just
loopholes,
random stuff they
baby.
put in the game, right?
Yeah.
Separate loopholes is amazing. I feel like it didn't get enough attention like it should, right? Maybe that's the downside of not having patch notes. When you do bad things, yeah, you avoid all the hate. But when you do good things, you don't get the full credit you should. This is amazing for Fortnite. Having all this stuff that comes out, I get to see lightsabers and be like, wow, Star Wars. Not think, wow, tomorrow's gonna suck when I try and play Arena. Or man, scrims are gonna suck tomorrow. So it's just weird they picked this one thing to go into competitive that didn't really need to be in there. I don't think it adds enough flavor to make it exciting. And I think it's just enough to be kind of annoying, like Thomas said. Especially endgame, I kind of like the aspect of rotating endgame, and it changes things up and makes people have to react to it. Yeah, the unpredictability is annoying, but early game, it definitely should not be happening during drops. Like, if you drop a non-major POI and you're trying to drop it like a house, you can mark it and do your best, but sometimes it's really weird. And you lose. I'm not a fan of anything in the game that gives me less information, especially on drop. If I can't look around and see who's dropping with me, where they're dropping, and figure out my rotation, I find that just annoying in general. You know what I mean? It's not one of those cool, exciting things. It's just anything that brings the skill ceiling down for me is what annoys me. So yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of it, but again, it's not huge.
The stage is important there, right? It's like when you're gliding in is the important part, not when you are down on the ground. Once you're down on the ground, I feel like all of a sudden this comes to a thing that's like, okay, cool. Now it's tactical. Now it's interesting.
Yeah, it's
because if you start the game and you have no clue what's going on, that's no fun.
Ooh,
there's no tactics. Still strategy to be employed.
Actually had a good point. Sorry, Prodigy had a good point in chat as well. Imagine you go blow on Storm Surge and a Snowstorm hit. See, now that could be frustrating. Late game trying to find tags, Storm Surge is rolling in. You can't see anyone. That could be frustrating.
But again, only if it's not predictable.
Because look at a competitive. If you're in a competitive game, you got 50 people next to you anyways. Like you're just
I guess so. You got people around. True.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, I think that it's just too hard to gauge whether or not it's a good addition to the game until it is predictable, right? I would rather have the game without it than the way it currently is. But I'd be totally down to explore it if it had a system backing it of this is when you can expect it, or you just know it's coming. That's about all I got to talk about that. Any last words on that, Thomas?
No, I totally agree with you guys.
Awesome, cool. Well, thank you. Have a fantastic evening, day. It's afternoon.
Night.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
Have a great night. Thanks so much for calling.
2:30 p.m.
Oh,
thanks,
jeez. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, I never know times. Yeah, I can't. It's like midday for me now. Like, this is actually a good time for me. Mine and Baller's cast yesterday was like on the early side. This is all right. This is not too bad. This is like midday.
All right. Perfect. Yeah, I can't. I can't do it. I can't figure it out.
Ooh.
We got another one here, Balla.
No chance.
Yes, sir.
Hey, what's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Nick, or Grinicide, and I'm from New York City.
Yo, what's up, Nick? Welcome back to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. A little under the weather, but other than that, just chilling.
It's going around. It's the season.
It's cold.
What do you want to talk about, Nick?
So mainly, I just want to talk about how I think Fortnite personally should implement region locking more in the cups, because Winter Royale, for one. I mean, I'm not like fully against like being able to play multiple regions, but I just feel like the fact that, especially for one, like Europe, how it had so many more players, and how like getting like 1 or 2 more points could have bumped you up like 6,000 ranks in like the leaderboards and stuff. I don't know. I just felt like it kind of created like some oversaturation for certain regions, and I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess Winter Royale could have been seen as like sort of a test event to try to find the best format for FNC.
It wasn't a test event. It was an official competitive event. I think.
Well, I think it was a test.
That's a sticking point for me. Hey, if they were actually testing something, they should have just done a test event, not giving away $15+ million.
That is true.
Yeah.
No, because can you test an event without giving away money? Like,
you can be testing formats, but that doesn't make the event itself a test.
Fortnite players don't do anything with no incentive.
Please continue.
But yeah, no, I just wanted to talk about that because I know like some things have been region locked, and I guess it creates more of the play style where like this is my one shot and it matters, but not like, oh, I'll hop on at 10 a.m. and I'll play this and I'll kind of just W key and see what I can do, and then I'll play later, and then I just think it creates more of
all tournaments should be region locked.
I feel like for the most part they should be. It just creates like you kind of have one shot to like give it your best effort. I get how it's beneficial to be able to play multiple regions, but at the same time, I just feel like on a certain level, it'll create just because due to time zones and stuff, you can't really like you just can't get around it. It'll just create where some regions get so much saturation that it's kind of like unnatural. Like EU, like how people were
Yeah.
memeing and like saying like, oh, increase the prize pool for EU, but
Yeah, nah.
realistically, it was many
Yeah,
regions
no.
playing that one thing.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
well, look,
That's just my
by that
take on
logic,
it.
we're screwed down here. No one comes and plays OC. It's like middle of the night. It's like 300 pings.
1,000
Like,
players, by the way.
if they start basing money off that, we are even more screwed. Let's not do that. I'm fully
Yeah.
supporting you on this one, mate. Don't worry, I got your back on this one.
Yeah, I'm totally down for it. Another potentially interesting thing about region locking events, right, is you deglobalize the scene, right, for better or for worse. And some of the pros of that is that you get scene specific playstyles, right? We see some of this already exists, right? But you would start to see it amongst the top of the top even more than we do currently, right? And I don't know. I mean, the thing is already most players aren't playing on other regions like during the day and during other events and stuff, right? It's only people who really have a chance feel like they have a chance at winning cash on those regions. So maybe it wouldn't like contribute to that too much. In my head, that's a good idea and kind of like where I was going to.
Yeah.
But it also forces more interesting moments of like, let's do a cross region event, and those hold more weight now. And are events you can do versus just like every time EU has an open cash cup, everyone from NA East is piling on in, and vice versa, right? And it creates more. Allows you to make those more of an event.
I find it hilarious that we are even talking about this, given the amount of people that are like, I can't play the game on higher than 30 ping.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's so funny that we still see Benji Fishy and people cross the ocean with their internet and still freaking do well. It's
Bucky and Creo dominate on OC. It was depressing to watch. I was watching it like, I do viewing parties for all of them, and I'm sitting there being like, I was literally like, all right, guys, I'm DMing like other pros, being like, can you please, for the love of God and all my reputation, not lose to Bucky and Creo, because they are not. World Cup was one thing. I'm not having you guys lose on 200 plus ping. Like, please, please do not lose this. I mean, I agree though. I think like it's kind of cool and it adds a fun element to it. And you can go around and play different regions. But again, I don't want to go back to old topics. It touches on people would rather play on their own ping. It's because they're bored and there's not enough to do. If they had solid maybe tournaments going on in their own region, run by either independently, third party, or just good practice, most of those players were doing it just for something to do.
Preach!
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's because they're just bored. And maybe if it wasn't 3 days in a row, I know a lot of people made like content out of it. And like Bucky and Creo clearly just were like, all right, 3 days, let's get like 3 hours sleep. Let's just do it, right? So maybe if it was a weekly thing, they'd get burnt out, right? Like maybe if they were not going to play every solo cash cup every week without the same amount of money. But yeah, I'm a fan of region locking, at least for one event, and let's get some actual data. I don't like the fact that people are throwing these numbers around when, of course, the EU had the most because, like a lot of people said, a lot of people can play on it, where obviously OC is not going to have that many, but almost everyone playing on ours was our players. You know what I mean? It's hard. I want to at least have one tournament that is region locked, get the proper stats, and then base information off that if you're going to. Please do not base off Winter Royale. Otherwise, we are even more screwed.
I mean, don't forget, like they're not basing it off of the Fortnite tracker estimations. Epic has numbers; they know who's playing
data,
what region on what region. So, like, I don't think that's an issue for you at all. Like,
true.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a fan of unlocked region tournaments when they are open. When they are open, I disagree with you guys. I think that it's fun. I don't know if you guys played. I freaking loved playing 3 regions a day. Like that was so much fun.
Personally, I did better on EU than NA East. And I live in New York.
Me too. I sucked at NA East. I don't know why. But
I reckon there's something to people's play styles though. I watch people play differently. You notice that as soon as you play on your own region, you feel more confident. You take fights you probably shouldn't. And then as soon as you play on higher ping, you're like, oh, I'm not going to win this fight. Let's play safe. And it's like, wait, all of a sudden when I play smart, I do better.
Bucky and Creo,
wow,
right?
Crazy.
In which case, it's just W key all day, every day, no matter the ping.
Somehow, exactly.
Maybe that is the play.
So yeah, I like the idea of playing multiple regions, but I don't like the idea of every single tournament being open to all the different regions, right? I want to have an FNCS that is, I want a more developed FNCS season where we actually get an international tournament at the end, but hey, it's just me.
Yeah.
I want that. But I also want this idea of open tournaments, like this tradition that we have, I guess, where we're like, oh, Winter Royale, let's play all of them. Because remember, last year we did the same thing. Zexor played on EU and he qualified for the finals. And it was really interesting to see him actually playing on the customs in the finals on EU, where he did pretty well, actually. But yeah, FNCS, I want to stay region locked. Why? Because I want shit like Parpy, Volks, and Jalen coming over from OCE, dominating in NAEs.
Hey,
I love that.
That was amazing.
Parpy and Volks are rolling up. Don't worry, that'll be good. They'll be coming. They're going. I think after AO, they're going to the US, so that'll be interesting. But I mean, we can start the topic if we really want to get maybe some hate going and really push it. Like, how do we feel about the console versus PC? Because I don't know if you guys followed it. People who made the most amount of money in all of Winter Royale, the duo, was an Australian PC controller players who went on console and made 17 grand each in Winter Royale because they came second on NA West twice.
I've been pretty.
They only played twice.
I've been pretty like lenient and given a lot of grace towards this conversation on the show in the past, as far as like I often support the controller side. Man, I am sick and tired of having full 360 movement. Hip fire, aim assist on SMGs in my damn box.
Oh my god!
I'm so sick and tired of that. I'm so sick and tired of that. I'm not even talking about console versus PC split. I'm sick and tired of that. Just in general, I just felt like earlier today I was in a Zone Wars. And it happened, and I just sat back and I was like, I'm gonna yell about that tonight.
I don't want the hate from this. I'm just gonna.
I never thought we would break Tim. I thought he was always gonna be, positive with the controller.
Sick and tired of it, man. Because you can tell. You can tell when they're moving on a diagonal that isn't like that straight degree. When they're moving on like a slightly different, you're like, oh, he's on an analog stick and he's gonna hit every headshot with that SMG because it's just gonna lock on to me, even though it's hip fire.
Oh, jeez, bro. Okay, I was thinking we were gonna get a bit of like a console maybe don't deserve as much money as PC and get some flame. I didn't think it was gonna go in on controller.
No, console deserves more money than PC if we're going off of player base. If we're going off of player base.
Okay. That is a topic worth having again.
If it's based on player base,
what is it based off? Yeah.
If it's based on player base only, and it really has to do with the goal.
Based on player base.
Yeah, because it really has to do with the goal of Epic's competitive scene, right? Their goal isn't to build up like massive icons and who's the best ever at the game. Their goal, their goal is just to build that base wider and wider and wider, get people play more and get more. Yeah.
So how do you feel? I mean, I'm reading the chat real quick. Someone said that the EU mobile prize pool was bigger than the PC NA West prize pool for Winter Royale. So how do you feel about that?
Does EU mobile have more players? Then like it makes sense. Like I don't have to feel good. I don't have to feel good about it, right? I don't necessarily feel good about it because that's not the direction I want Epic to take with the competitive scene. But that is the direction they've taken so far, and so there's not like a lot to complain about, right? Yeah, exactly. Like
they spend money on skins, money goes back to tournaments, they get more money in their tournaments. Like it's a very simple equation, but you then got to look at like what reach does a game get from having those top stories. Again, I've been watching all these old tournaments, right? Watching the player profiles, I couldn't stop commenting on how much that made me care. You then bring out a friggin' Benji Fishy skin, which they pretty much did, and look how much money they made off that. Fish Sticks now has like 7 variants and 2 different skins. It's ridiculous. Like there is money to be made from these storylines and having the top tier pros, but that's a whole different. Like I'm not an economics major. I'm not going to break down the value of having that versus just obviously selling skins. But it's hearing that just makes anyone who cares about competitive sad. But you see why.
It's a very short-sighted approach. It's a simple approach. It makes a lot of sense on paper. Hey, let's just, increase the interest in clicking that play button and keeping these people inside of the game. That is a very, very simple formula, right? It makes sense, but it is short-sighted as hell because they're not going to click that forever if they don't care. If there is no incentive to be the best of the best, they will be there for whatever, just earning some cheap bucks, and they're not really getting any of the fame and the glory that they all expect to get. Which is
that's true.
It's tough.
Yeah, it's tough
right now.
Again, it just comes down to the goal, right? Yeah, sorry, Aussie.
Yeah. No, I was just about to say, like, look right now, like I was just saying before, again, having this Australian Open Discord, I've got, some of the best pros in the world right now all on a Discord, and all I can see in the members list is no one playing Fortnite. So, I mean, like, it shows competitive has a direct link with how much people play this game and how they see it. Again, I don't talk to a lot of casual players, but again, I stream. My viewers who are probably more competitively inclined, but even casual viewers, they're not playing right now. Like, as soon as competitive drops off, their favorite streamers aren't streaming. They don't watch them pop off in a zone war and then think they're going to go give it a go. Like, there's a big impact on the pro players playing and making the game look fun and exciting that then gets you to want to go play as well. So
first off,
very
before we continue on this, I do want to thank you, Grinaside Nick. Thanks so much for calling into the show again, man. I hope you have a fantastic evening.
Very good question.
Yep, totally appreciate it. You guys having a good night.
Peace out.
See you, mate.
Ooh, oh, that was really close because someone else kicked him out of the Discord channel and I almost banned Balla.
Wait. Hey, I'll get out of here.
Like, hold up. Wait a second.
Balla's a controller supporter. Tim's just unhinged now.
Right.
Nah, I avoid it instantly. The console topic, I always dodge real quick by being like, look, unfortunately, you know, the platform that you're on just doesn't have the same competitive edge. And I just dodge that one. I never bring up controller, ever. It's just not worth touching. It's like politics and religion on stream for me. Just do not do it.
Yeah.
Don't touch it. It's never worth it.
I'm not afraid to talk about politics on my stream because it's important to me, but I'm not going to subject you all to it on this show specifically.
I know. Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so you like having those conversations. I don't. For me, I care for the first like 5 minutes, and then after that, I'm just tired and don't care anymore. So I'm like, all right.
Totally. No, I get it. I'm not saying anyone else should. Just
I know.
So people know. For me, if you want to get into it on stream in the future, let's do it.
Yeah.
But I wanted to talk a little bit about. You said, potential drop in the player base. Right. We've talked about that since the day mechs were introduced, and even bad patches before that. We know that profit is slightly down for Fortnite year over year, but it's still in the billions. Right, or over 1.5 billion, right? So it's at best estimation. So it's still like ridiculous, making a lot of money. I don't know what a reduced player count really looks like. Like something interesting to me is you look at Escape from Tarkov, right, which blew up on the Twitch after drops were enabled, right? And a lot of big streamers are worried that a big part of that is embed viewers, or sleeping viewers, right? Just people AFK for drops, right? And they're worried that if the event ends or the drops ends, their communities won't stay as large. But I think that for Fortnite, that's never been the case, really, right? I don't think you can say that Fortnite's 80,000, 70,000, whatever it floats around right now on Twitch is propped up or inflated at all, right? Or at least not significantly. And so I do wonder in this specific instance, if the viewership dwindling or growing on Fortnite on Twitch is a better indicator of its player base than it might be for other games, right? Not that it is the end all be all of player base, right? But
they're so good at marketing, and they have these lulls, and they announce something, and everyone gets hyped and excited. Where if they obviously had 2 days to break and breathe, it wouldn't get as much attention. I get that. I just think do that for a week or two. Even if you now tell me there's no tournaments for 2 weeks, I'm gonna be like, cool, all right, it is what it is. Just tell me. I need to know something. Like I literally have a career writing on this now. You know what I mean? I need information. I can make the best content and promote this game as best as possible when I know what's happening. What's happening? I don't know what's coming.
Feel like, Tim, that you might be right about the player base kind of thing being related to the viewership and whatnot, but I do think that Fortnite is artificially propped up by its competitive events, right? Like
its viewership is
the only time Fortnite is ever in first place anymore in Twitch, like the directory, it's when there's a competitive event.
100%.
It's only and it's massive. They have a huge boost, and because of that lingers. That lingers. When we don't have competitive events, you guys are going to continue to see it drop until they finally have an announcement again. I guarantee it.
Yep. And this is less than a competitive take than just like a general Twitch take, although the two seem inextricably tied when it comes to Fortnite. But it's I wonder how long it'll be since Escape from Tarkov's success with this until Fortnite implements item drops. And what that will do.
They've already done it.
Fortnite
had item drops.
I mean,
that's
they weren't
true.
There was sprays and they weren't as exciting. But actually,
they weren't as exciting.
You did streams during it. How hard was it? Like we were doing our duo cast, and I'm looking at chat, and it's just people bickering about not getting a spray. Like I legitimately, when they reached out to me for it, I was like, okay, cool, I'll turn them on because why not? Yeah. I actually kind of wish I didn't because it was so frustrating trying to deal with people trying to get it when it was just a spray. So if you start putting in like a skin or a pickaxe, I mean, we're going way back now. Let's look at what Twitch Prime, the effect it had on Ninja when you got a skin. It's like next level. So like they could, I think there's a good chance they do it, honestly. They're way too smart with their marketing to not see escape
to
from
ignore
Tarkov
that,
was
like what
great
is otherwise
example.
a free free bag for them, right? All right.
Yeah.
but don't forget don't forget how probably expensive it is for them to make a
True.
marketing deal with Twitch. Like, sure,
True.
Twitch probably earns a lot from it too, but
Yeah.
I'm guaranteeing it's way more worth to Fortnite than it is to Twitch.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
way more. In fact, it probably loses money for Twitch because they have to give Twitch Prime subs to everybody, and
Yeah.
that's expensive.
Because a skin they'd pay Twitch, like I'm sure, like hopefully you'd see it as like a Twitch. Okay, cool. Well, if we enabled, well, exactly, because Twitch knows that the viewership is coming from a different channel normally, not really bringing them to Twitch. It's going from game to game, like we said. Like we're talking as if Twitch kind of has that like viewership, and there's different like slices of it that go to different games. So I don't know. It depends. I guess maybe a lot of, again, Twitch's viewership has grown massively. Again, from being streaming in early Fortnite days to now it's like it has gotten a lot younger as Fortnite blew up because it brought people to the platform that weren't previously on it. I know Twitch is starting to look more and more like a YouTube comment section these days. You know what I mean? Like you can definitely see the effect. So they could bring more viewership to Twitch in general, but it has a lot more benefit for Fortnite. But it's a cool point. I'd like to see it. I mean, as a streamer, I mean, any chance to do stuff like that's cool. But
I think we're ready for the next call.
Let's do it.
Let's
Get him
move
in
on
here.
in terms of topics. Here he is.
Yo,
What's your name? Where are you
Amazing
calling
introduction.
from? No, always. It's my favorite part is asking their name and where they're calling from. Thank you.
You have to let him ask it, DJ. Even though we all know who the frick Destiny's Jesus is, you have to let Tim ask the question.
Hey, caller. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I am Destiny Jesus,
Hey, how you doing today, Destiny?
England. Very good. I'm alright. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. What do you want to talk about today?
The rise of Fortnite agents, like as in like somebody who runs as a manager and then also does contract stuff with players, signing to an org, and then also taking a percent cut of that, signing and stuff. And then also what Balla tweeted about earlier today with the FMPA maybe getting involved, FNPPA, whatever, maybe getting involved in getting like a free sort of pro bono lawyer and contact for people signing to an org where they can get like a multi-person perspective of their contract and then get the best deal. Because there is World Cup coming up, right? Whenever thing is, nobody's being signed at the moment unless it's on a scam contract because there's no events on, right?
Or
like why would
Australian
org
Open.
sign something? There's nobody. Yeah, I guess so.
All the
But
OC
there's
friends
no-
signing contracts, and I'm like, well, hey, let's like slow down.
But like in the EU and NA, there's no one getting signed on to like a major org, right? None of the major orgs are picking up anybody, only really small orgs, because there's no events announced or happening, right?
Yep.
So as soon as World
Facts.
Cup's announced,
See a spike
World Cup run up,
before any big
everybody
event.
gets picked up in World Cup run up, right? If they qualify, even Ziff gets picked up, right?
Yeah.
Wait.
No offense.
Whoa, throwing stones. Throwing stones in glass houses.
Oh yeah, I was about to say, man. Hey.
All sorts of drama getting picked up. Oh yeah, it's gone then.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I think agents in general are very, very, very useful
Can be.
job for anybody who can be, but also like you kind of need an agent if you do these sort of things. Why? Because you're not. I have an agent. I have an agent for my talent negotiations. Like I work. So full disclosure, I have when I find use out of them because I'm not in a position to negotiate my rate. It's hard for me to be like, hey, event organizer, I'd rather be paid more than this. Like they also know more. They should know more because they're working with a broader range of people. They know what other people are getting paid. They know what kind of money somebody has, this sort of thing. So they are a huge value to players because they get more value for, like, they literally will rise your contract up by a significant amount if they are good at their jobs and they are like actually, like, I don't know what the word is for agencies, but they're certified in a sense, right? They are somebody who you can respect and trust. That is typically how it works for talent agencies, and that's what esports players play under. It should be talent agencies. They are talent technically. Very useful. But I see a lot of stuff where people are using people, like the term Twitter agent is getting thrown around a lot, and I'm like, whoa, what the heck is a Twitter
hold
agent?
up,
Like,
back up.
does he know anything? Like, what is this? I don't get it. I get DMs from people all the time. I'm like, they're like, oh, I want to represent you. I'm like, what? Who are you? Exactly. Like,
represent me in what? Yeah. Like, wait.
Yeah.
On Twitter? You just want to take my name? Hey, hold up.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't get. I mean, they need to have. It's like any agent, anything. You're trying to buy a house, anything. You try and make any big purchase or job decision. You should have someone who knows what they're doing, who's also emotionally like removed from it to talk about it, right? Like when you talk about like raising your rates and stuff,
Yes.
like trying to buy a house and negotiate a price for you. So it makes sense, but I think people look again in the wrong sources. Don't go for old mate who has 8,000 Twitter followers. Go for the one who's been working as some kind of business role for quite a long time and maybe has a good idea of esports. I'd rather have someone who has a better idea of business and a less idea of esports and the like culture of what's going on around it and the ecosystem than someone who like is super Twitter clouded but then has no idea what I should be getting from a business perspective. I have an org and I have someone who's like kind of my agent like through that side of things, and I do have a couple of people very high up who I'm friends with, who I talk to, who I trust and stuff, but without them I would be really struggling. Yeah, like you definitely need someone to look at contracts and talk to them and help you and reach out and stuff. It's just something that you need.
And this ties in.
I have.
Yeah, and it ties back into like if you don't want to get a lawyer, get an agent. They'll get a lawyer for you.
Yeah,
that's
true.
the first thing they'll do when looking at contracts.
Yeah,
the first thing they should be doing when looking at contracts, right? Even like they can be costly, right? And it depends on how you're going, right? A percent of the sign. I've seen weird setups in the music scene where they've paid an agent hourly. That's weird to me, but if it can work, right? It can work, like you said, with the right person doing the right thing. Yeah. You vetted. It just takes a little bit of extra. Like, congrats, you just won 50 grand. Like, you can take a second. Like, you can skip out on 3 scrims to do some Googling and figure out what your best options are locally, nationally, whatever, for an agent, for a lawyer. I think these are all important.
To be very clear, what Attila said in chat is 100% correct. But one of the main benefits of any normal talent agency is that they have a lawyer on like retainer, right? They have a lawyer who is ready and waiting to look over any contracts that they need them to, right? So having an agent means that you don't actually have to pay a lawyer. You just pay the agent the fee that you get for contract signings and you instantly get a lawyer. But like you should 100% get a lawyer for your agency deal, right? When you sign a contract with an agent, you should get a lawyer to look over that. You should 100% do this. And that's going to be costly. But after that, maybe you have somebody else in their own resources that can look over whatever you need to. Just to be clear, an agent is not somebody who is qualified to look at contracts. You need a lawyer, somebody who is literally certified by the bar or whatever, regional representation you need.
Yep, 100%.
They're worth so much money. Like these players get so much money. The amount that you spend on a lawyer or an agent is not even close to how much they will get you. It's literally just paying them to get you more money, but make your life easier. These guys don't have the time or care to go and read through all their contracts and stuff. Pay someone to do it for you. You got the luxury of money. You don't usually have the luxury of knowledge in these areas, right? These are usually young people who don't have a very good world understanding. I get called a boomer. I'm 26. I still don't pretend I know how to read a contract properly. It's just stupid to think so. I haven't been professionally taught in it. I have a very specific skill set in a specific area that I'm using. Other people have specific skill sets in their area. Pay them to do it for you. It's really not, it's worth it. It's always worth it as long as you research the person or know. It's not, and this is something that people are usually more transparent about. Like Balla saying, I have an agent. It's not weird to talk about like it is weird to talk about how much you get paid on a contract. You can talk about, hey, I have an agent. This is their name. I pay them this much to do this for me. They're very good. It's not a weird conversation to have. And there you go. Now you have someone you have for the most part can probably go trust, Like, I don't know. It's a weird one for me to not at least talk to them. And it costs you nothing to talk to them first.
Now, obviously, the situation is a little more difficult for someone who's like more on the rise, right? Someone who's got like a grand total of $1,500 in earnings and doesn't know if their future will entail more, but they're trying to put themselves in a situation where it can, right? And I get that that's more difficult, and I get that it's often likely in those situations to try to be your own agent, or slightly better, have like your parents be your agent or whatever. There are still ways to accomplish things cheap, but just much more intelligently than they've been handled in the past, right? There are still people you can call pro bono to ask about these sorts of legal situations. There are people that will, there's a lot you can do, right? Like there's a lot you can do, and even with a finite amount of cash, right?
That's a good transition. Is that, to be honest, like when we think about the type of contracts that people are signing, like a lawyer is not cheap. A lawyer is hundreds of dollars an hour to look over a contract, and the contract takes maybe 2 hours to look over like efficiently. So like it's not cheap, and the level of the contracts that people are signing, the level of contracts for Stride or whoever else, there's a bunch of people signing contracts for like $100 like a month, right? Like it's nothing. Well, it's something to them because you're not earning money or you're earning money, that sort of thing. So it's something to them, but you can't afford to get a lawyer on that case. So that's why I kind of put the onus on an organization like FMPPA, right? It's the Fortnite Professional Players Association. Like that sounds like their ballpark. And I think it's something that they may have talked about in early, but I don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know really anything about them at all. It was just a random idea. I was like, hey, like this is literally something that they could help with. I think you could maybe get a lawyer on retainer like an agent would at the FMPPA. That's like, hey, if you guys ever need anybody to look over contracts, boom, send it to the FMPPA. We've already paid this guy. He can do it for you. Like, that'd be so cool.
That'd be amazing.
I think.
But like, think a lot of people are like, oh, contracts should be public, but like, probably not, because there's no actual
No.
like public body. There's no league. There's nothing like that. Like
Yeah.
sports, like it's not sports, guys. It's not at all. But like,
And that can be bad for the person as well. Like we just assume that's better for
Exactly.
them, but then that means some other org can come along and be like, hey man, your contract's not legally binding. Let's do this, blah blah blah. Like it's just still not a good idea either. I think contracts shouldn't, but information should. Also, make contracts shorter. Why is it like 1 year or nothing? Do a 2-month contract. See what you're getting. Make sure you're both happy. They should want you to be happy with them as much as you. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah,
the whole
yeah.
point, right? You got to get something from it too. And they're
Happy,
hopefully, if they're a
mutual
good org or a
relationship.
good representation, yeah, they're going to want to be happy that you're delivering them. In 2 months, they might be like, wow, this person actually isn't doing as well as we thought they were going to, or they're not representing us the way we wanted them to. And they won't want you around either anymore. And you don't want to be locked in for a year on that premise. Like it's, yeah, I don't know. It's very, very interesting. And having clauses to renegotiate your contract. When I read like a lot of these contracts that I see, it's always, we have the ability to drop you whenever we want for whatever reason, but you're stuck with us for a year. It's like, that's never a good idea. What? How does you read that and think that sounds like it's going to be a good idea? But
Yeah, I agree with that.
Contract if you're unsure.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. Also, someone in chat mentioned, what about NDAs and contracts? I think it really depends on the NDA, right? Because an NDA clause can specifically say, don't talk about how much you're getting paid, right? But it can also cover things much broader. And I've even seen NDAs that cover things like, you can't talk about any of the communication we have, things like that. I definitely think an NDA takes a second look. But even then, who am I to say that? Like we've been saying this whole time. Ask your lawyer if an NDA isn't in a contract is a good or bad idea.
Exactly. Yeah. I honestly thought like
the NDA in the Stride contract, right?
Yeah.
So I know all the Stride players that were signed. I'm friends with them, all EU and stuff, right? EU-based org. And the NDA in the Stride contract was, if you say a single thing to anyone else about what you're getting paid from Stride, they'd insta terminate you, and you wouldn't be allowed to come back and get your cash, right?
Yep.
When you were owed $2,000, the players were getting promised like $2,000 a month for like multiple months, right? And then if you said a single thing about that while the contract was going, it will be insta terminated and everything backlogged.
Which is interesting because...
And then all these agents, right, they approved that. They were like, oh, that's fine. That's just a normal part of it.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, that's pretty sketch.
Ridiculous.
That's super sketch. That's hard. That's rough when the person you're paying to like be able to trust them on these things screws you over, right? Like, there's not much to say there other than you got to try and do better pre-research, or man, like there's just no good answer around like not getting screwed over by people, right? Something interesting though about that is in my state, in the United States, I don't know if it's a federal thing or not, but it is illegal for an employer to punish you in any way because you talked about how much you make with like fellow coworkers, which is an important tool to stop like wage discrimination and these sorts of things.
It's legal in a lot of states.
Yeah. But it isn't a federal thing, right? It's a state by state basis. But that's the kind of thing that I would love to see enacted at some level. I mean, it's hard because people are in different nations doing different things, right? That's the kind of thing I would love to see within our scene. But all right.
Yep.
Thanks so much for calling in, Destinies. I really appreciate it, man. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your evening.
Thank you. That's so rough. Oh, I'm just so scared that people sign that, man. How do you read that and think this is going to be good? Like, I know they're kids, but man, hearing that's just so sad. Makes me so much more invested in what I thought I was, because I just want to be like, just talk to anyone before you sign this. That only comes into effect once you sign it. Before you sign it, you can show someone the entire contract if you really want. You know what I mean? You haven't signed it.
It's hard because I get it, right? The position a lot of these, especially the younger players, right? 15, 16, even 14, you know, they're what appears to them, they're in pivotal points in their life, right? Where they're starting high school, or they've just started high school, and they're thinking about taking college courses so they can be better prepared to start college, you know, early in this kind of stuff. And then they're given this opportunity, they think that they really want to make work instead. And they're gonna cling to whatever like is gonna offer them that chance, right? That different path, alternative lifestyle that they would rather, you know, try to lead and live into their adult future. Like, I get it. I understand why it happens. But it sucks. You're right. And we need more education and better attention. We got another guest in here, Balla.
Yes, sir.
Hey, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, what's up, guys? My name's Somebody's Gun or Taylor, and I'm calling from North Carolina.
North Carolina. How are you doing today?
My
I just pretend to
man.
know where these places are. I'm like, oh, that sounds nice. I don't know where that is whatsoever. I got no way of knowing where that is.
Interesting place.
I know it's in America.
Here's the reference. It's where Epic's headquarters are. So
Oh,
there you go.
Yeah,
no,
somebody's
server's not even there, right?
Yep,
probably
what's that
not.
say?
Mid-Atlantic, USA.
Oh, okay.
What do you want to talk about, somebody?
All right, what are we talking about?
So I'm reaching out basically because the DreamHack style scoring was the best scoring system that I've seen in a long time. War Legends does something similar, but it's kind of no longer a tiered placement scoring. It's I can't think of the word for it, but it's
amazing. That's the word for it.
we used to have tiered with elims, and
Mhm.
they got rid of that, so you get 1 point per elim. It should be something similar.
Yeah.
So each placement is worth X amount of points, and the closer you get to first, the more points you get. It shouldn't be reliant on you reaching 8th or 12th, whatever they
threshold.
arbitrarily decide is the placement. One Up
Definitely.
Analytics actually did some cool work, basically switching up the placements if someone died, let's say 3 seconds later, and the leaderboards got switched around a good bit, which was really cool.
By
And I think
thousands
was
of
interesting.
dollars.
Yes.
Yeah.
By tens of thousands of dollars in some cases for FNCS
Jeez.
squads. Like it was intense.
That's
and
I
that was
agree, man.
yeah.
I 100% agree. Like this system of thresholds is not only it's okay. So I see it from a bunch of different ways, right? I played the formats. I've watched, I've casted, I've tried to make it presentable to a viewer. So I think that the threshold formats are very like you think it'd be the opposite, but for me, the threshold formats are actually more confusing to try to explain to a viewer than anything else. It's very simple when you put it on paper. It's like, yeah, these guys, you get 10 points for victory royale, but those come in thresholds, so you have to reach those certain placements. It's very easy to explain that to a viewer. But when you actually get down the standings list and you try to explain what the situation is when you're going to that final game, it's like, well, he could be top 5, but only if that guy got only top 25, then it's like so many different things, and it doesn't feel like it makes sense because somebody dies in top 26 and all of a sudden you're like, wait, he just did better than the guy who died in 99th or whatever, but he got the same amount of points. It makes no sense. And that's what the DreamHack and other consistent formats that don't have any thresholds do. And I think that's important.
Another benefit is that a more consistent point structure, like I'm just holding random things now, a more consistent point structure also ties to I know, dude, I just twiddle with things. Let's go. Let's go, gamers. We love fiddling with shit. But it makes it easier to compare people on the leaderboard, right? It's hard to say this guy got first, this guy got second. The difference between them is 5 points. Like you have to look at the kills, and then you have to look at the placement point breakdown, and then you have to say, was this guy like 10 placements away in each game from like hitting those points? Or if someone's at 99 points, someone's at 100 points, they have a similar amount of kills, you can just easily say, oh, he needed to survive 3 more people in most of his games, and he would have got it, right? Like there's value there. This is something like this format is something we've talked about basically every week on Hotline FN since since the event happened, right? I mean, I think for good reason, right? Like I'll harp on good ideas, right? To a point. A good idea is a good idea.
So bad.
Yeah.
Like that's the reason why I care a lot, because like I wanted to be at AO so friggin' bad. Like just watching it was so amazing. Watching DreamHack and like just watching people end game, and as they just every single place the point just goes up and up. And yeah, it's easy to explain, it's easy to follow, but it makes every little bit so exciting. But yeah, you don't get those peak moments of, oh, did he get top 5? But it doesn't make sense. Like, why is it, all of a sudden, like, and you see people like, oh, he's got 500 mats. Maybe you should just tunnel in, not fight anyone, try and get that top 5 and then go. You know what I mean? It's just weird. It's a battle royale. The longer you survive, the more you should be rewarded. It's a very, very simple concept. So I like it.
The only issue is that, okay, there's 2 issues for me. Like when transitioning is gonna be really hard because everybody understands the threshold formats. It's like everybody gets it. Everybody understands.
Winter Royale, though.
Top 25,
I think there's a much larger potential for new viewers than we have to be worried about current viewers being a little confused.
Fuck yes, true, very true. But when you think about it that way too, like, okay, it's not actually simple to explain the SL format on paper. Like you show a graphic, and it's like, what the fuck am I looking at? Like it's
Yeah,
actually
it's a lot of
you
it's a
look
lot
at
of
the
numbers.
standings,
Yeah.
like, wait, what the fuck am I looking at? Because
Yeah.
every single one, everybody has 100 points, and they're like, well, I don't get it. Like I can't actually do the
Yep.
math anymore.
Yep.
So it does make it hard at that aspect, but I feel like it intuitively it makes much more sense. You just get placements, you get points. You just get kills, you get points. Like
Yeah.
there's no ifs and ups about it. It doesn't matter.
Do
And
you
it
think,
just
I'm sure
makes
you guys have
sense.
probably touched on it as well because it just makes sense in my head. Do you think it makes the win less exciting though? Should there be that little bit extra for the win though? 'Cause it's still a battle royale. At
Yes.
the end of the day, win should still feel better than two. It
Yes.
shouldn't be one elimination.
But that's an issue with
better,
the normal format, anyways. That's an issue with
Yeah.
the threshold format, anyways. Like
Yeah.
getting the win does not mean as much as it should in my mind. It
Oh,
feels
really?
Like it should
Okay,
be
you actually
much,
think
much more.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, interesting. Yeah, I do like
100%.
that as well. Yeah, okay. I find that interesting. Yeah, I think the win needs to be worth a lot more, but it was exciting. It did mean that at the end game, it just felt like points were just kind of racking up though. But that was what was cool. So yeah, I wanted AO to be honest.
That's the other
Yeah.
thing that a lot of people. Sorry, go ahead, Taylor.
Just to add something to that, it would make a little more sense if you could see the thresholds in game for
Yes.
the teams.
Yes. Yeah.
Game modes.
Yeah,
But you don't
fine.
even know. There could be 48 people left in squads, and you haven't even reached a placement. So it would make sense if you could see that.
Yeah.
You can only do it spectating or the replay client, so it just doesn't make sense to me. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's very true. That's a good point. Yeah, I agree with that fully.
I want every score, everything to be visible. I want to know exactly who has what points in the middle of the game. I want players to be able to see that. I want that so bad. I want them to be able to see a live leaderboard so they can make the calculation of what they need to do. I know. No, but that'll be griefing. There are going to be people who grief. Like, no, just like let's deal with that as it comes. Like,
Yeah.
Last thing about this kind of standings things is that I don't understand the sentiment, but I saw a lot of pros after Winter Royale saying, I mean, let's be serious. The day 2 Winter Royale format was basically DreamHack, but just tiered down for not only duos but also to like make it less granular, which kind of sucked. I don't know why it was like that, but it was basically DreamHack format. So I saw a lot of pros afterwards being like, man, I'd like this format if it was customs, but I hate it for open tournaments. What do you guys think about that? Because I don't think that makes any sense.
Yeah, I don't think it makes any sense. I think it makes sense in the context of I like this format. It doesn't feel great for me in the open situation when this is like the end of it, right? Like I would be more confused if those same players were saying the same thoughts if we had open qualifiers into customs, right? Like I don't think you can have a problem with it as a qualifier.
I don't like open tournaments.
Yeah,
Do they even like open tournaments in general? Does anyone like open tournaments? Like I feel like just stop the sentence right there. The point, if the point system doesn't work because of the format, just get rid of the format of open tournaments. No one wants them. Like I don't know.
I mean, we still need open to some level, right? Because we don't want invite-only
to some
tournaments,
extent,
right? Yeah, exactly. What we don't need, we need open qualifiers. We don't need open one and done events, right? And we can debate left and right, all day long. What the real goal of the Winter Royale was, etc., etc. Ultimately, it was a way to infuse the scene with cash, bring players in during the dead time, and get a lot of like publicity, right? And that's all great and stuff. I don't think it is indicative of a direction, right? I'm pretty sure we'll get more FNCS style stuff with open qualifiers, World Cup style stuff.
I don't want to derail it here then though. What is your guys' dream format? Like, what do you want? I want 2 solo cash cups and then 1 duo FNCS weekend that's like World Cup, but put more money on them. I don't want 5 days of tournaments. I want 3 actual tournaments that have money on them and it's a decent amount. That's what I want. What do you guys
I could
want?
care less about cash cups. Like, frankly,
I just think they're necessary though. Yeah, I just think they're necessary.
I would prefer. I would prefer a cash cup.
Cash cups are necessary. I don't think cash cups are necessary. I think cups are necessary.
Practice is
does
necessary.
not make any sense.
Okay,
They just need to give a freaking skin for every person who wins the dang thing, and they're gonna get a bunch of people playing.
Like the pins.
You know that this
Share the love.
What, you didn't want the
no, not a pin.
I'm flexing my banners hard. What are you talking about?
Oh my god! Stop it. God. Give a pickaxe. Give a skin. Give something. Please do that, and then all of a sudden you get a thing where you can play solos competitively.
Yep.
And sure, you can
in an event
put some money
format.
on it every once in a while.
I mean, Halo 3 was the day for
focus
me.
on the
You got like a cool
what,
helmet. Halo 3, like just put something in the game. Like competitive back in the day was a thing, right? People were like grinded hard to look a little bit different. It was nuts. Like people really wanted that extra slight appearance change, like way more than they wanted like a little. I don't know. It's ridiculous. Yeah, I think I'm fine with that as well. I agree. But I think you need some kind of something. But then what, you reckon put all the money on like a qualification and then final style tournament?
I think the main chunk of money should be
Yeah.
a qualification final style
finals.
tournament with a
Yeah.
international LAN or regional LAN or something. Please
Yeah.
don't stop giving away $100,000 on freaking online tournaments. I'm dying.
I think another thing though, my biggest problem with cash cups isn't even like the money siphon or necessarily like the openness. For me, it's just the the cash prizing. It's just the it doesn't help with the weekend events, right? It's not practice for the weekend events. It's as good practice for the weekend events as box fighting with other good players, right? Like it's just not. It's not the same thing. It's not the same situation. It's not even close. I would care a lot more about cash cups if there was a way to, in a single day event, create situations more akin to what real qualifiers would look like, whether that's World Cup or FNCS. I don't know how to achieve that. I have some ideas, sure, but as it is, cash cups are just like this extra thing of like, you don't know how to play real competitive Fortnite, but here you can slay out, maybe make some cash.
Yeah, I think it's even worse in our region compared to your guys' region. Like I watched NA East and the skill-based matchmaking towards the end make some solid games. In a region as small as ours, it does nothing, but if anything, it punishes players at the top because we had people not qualify for one of the weeks of squad FNCS finals because the skill-based matchmaking meant that anyone on 93 points got a game, anyone above 94 didn't. So a team on 94 didn't get a game and they didn't qualify. It was ridiculous. So like, I think they're putting skill-based matchmaking in as an attempt to do what you're talking about, but it doesn't even achieve that. It just causes so many more issues.
Skill-based matchmaking in tournaments is the stupidest thing in the world to me. It shouldn't. It shouldn't be a thing at all. That's a whole nother like ugly box, right? Like that's nonsense to me. Like it makes sense. You're right in the context of a cash cup. I understand kind of the goal of it, like you said. But like in an FNCS qualifier, especially, you know, like what is the point here? Like this isn't indicative. This isn't how competitions run at any level. You're seeding the qualifiers? Are you kidding me? Like that's wild. That's mind blowing. Like that's actually pretty insane. Like it's pretty lenient, right? Like everyone likes to fudge the numbers depending on what side of the conversation they're on, right? It is pretty lenient. You know what I mean? You can be in first place and still get in a lobby with people with 40 points. But there is a marked difference between the off lobbies, you know, on the rotation where everyone's died from the previous game and now you're in one of those off lobbies, and then of course, you know, low point lobbies when you start late, that kind of thing.
Do you guys have that? Do you have people doing that? Because we have someone in our region, Luda, been performing phenomenally well, incredibly aggressive player, really talented. He'll play his first game or two, doesn't do well, he'll switch on an ult, and he came top 5 almost every single time.
I don't like it at all. Don't like it at all. I mean, but there's nothing stopping. I mean,
because our skill-based matchmaking does next to nothing. You verse a whole bunch of bots at the start, and then you'll have like a little bit of a game towards the end that might be somewhat decent, but he'll still just keep fragging out through that because we just don't have that top-end player base to really shut that down. It happened at least like 6 times.
Yep. All right, we should move on to the next. Sorry, Balla, you got. Yeah, cool. All right, thank you so much. Somebody's gun.
We can
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, man.
All right, I got the next one right away. So here we go.
Hey, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello, I'm Cop. I'm calling from New Zealand.
Wow. Hey, I was like, I think I know who this is. I was like, hey, let's go. How's it going,
I've
dude?
been watching you for a while.
That's fantastic. Always great to have fans on the show. So hopefully everybody who's on the show ever is a fan or else. So what do you want to talk about?
So I want to talk about the legitimacy of coaching within Fortnite, so specifically aim coaches and game coaches. And more specifically, I think there's different levels to it. So obviously there's coaches who coach more top tier pros like Destiny Jesus who have proven results where the people he coached in the World Cup did really, really well and made a lot of money. But then there's also these people claiming to be coaches who don't necessarily have the credentials. And I just want to hear your guys' thoughts on that.
Well, first off, what are the credentials to you? Does Sam have the credentials? Because he's offering up his.
Obviously, he's like
coaching.
a new coach, but he's bloody awesome at the game. Like he's proven that he's a great player and he's a great player in terms of game sense and also mechanics. So he's like new to the scene. But then
my follow up then is what were Destiny Jesus's qualifications?
But
credentials.
If I remember correctly, he started off just by posting like tip videos and stuff, and he started and he was a player of the game, and then he slowly got into coaching. It wasn't like a
and he
sort
had
of
some
overnight thing.
and he had some success. I just wanted to kind of like shine some, like, my own opinion is some absurdity on the idea of like that he has to have credentials for anyone to pay him any time or for them to be offering that service, right? Like all a coach has to do ultimately is offer value, right? And if someone finds their services, you know, whether it's Destiny's Jesus shopping around to players, you know, I imagine this is how it happened. It probably isn't. Furiously DMing players, you know, I've got all these sweet analytics and drop maps. You're gonna want this shit. Like until finally people started going, oh, actually that is valuable. I do want that. And then, you know, whatever it evolves into from there. I just kind of want to like put that off. Like if you think you have value to add to a player in that kind of a role, like, yeah, you should pursue it, you know, like don't feel shut down.
I agree with it. Some people even just a confidence boost. If you notice that, some people just play better when a coach is on them because they just feel like, you know, they've got more validation now. Like I've literally had people who jump in and call me like on my Discord, I'll have like a tilt zone. Well, I have pros come in and I'll just chat with them for 5 minutes. I'm not playing the cash cup, I'm watching. And I'll just like untilt them, calm them down, and they go back and they pop off. I'm not going to say I'm a phenomenal coach now. It's just sometimes making people like, that's a value that service adds. I don't charge for it or anything. It's just something I do because I like the guys, but coaches can do simple things as much as just that, like just mental coaching. So I think it depends because it's when it becomes all over Twitter. Yeah, I know why people talk about it. Because some people just don't like the rise of all of a sudden, I'm a coach. I talked to this guy. He did well. I'm a good coach now. So I think it's very, very hard, but it's part of their business. They kind of have to do that. It's a necessity of getting it out there, their name out there, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I kind of fall in the same boat about the credibility thing, right? Like I just started making videos. I, you know, tried to prove myself, but at the end of the day, Tim's 100% right. Like if somebody can provide value, then somebody else might want that value and they can decide whether it is actually value or not. Like they could just be like, okay, cool, I'm out. Like that's it. So if a coach says, hey, I'm a coach, like they offer their service, they say, here's what I offer. And the person can be like, okay, well, can we do a trial run? Can we do this? Can we do that? Whatever. Like it's a negotiation too. Like you don't have to freaking just like, you don't have to take it just because they are a coach. They say they're a coach. Like same thing with Kataz, for example. Like he gets vouchers from a bunch of people, but he offers a service that people clearly see value out of and they buy it and they continue to buy it because he's useful. It doesn't matter what other people think. Who cares what other people think?
He's
like,
useful to you,
who cares that people think Fortnite coaches are useless? Because at the end of the day, it's you. Just do what you got to do. That's the thing that is awesome about coaches in general. Is like literally it's a personal relationship. It's not a public relationship. It's not anything that needs to be public. It can be private if you want. Like it's so simple. It's a very simple transaction. But there is a rise of like kind of annoying things I think I've talked about on this show specifically, where like coaches, I don't know, man. It feels like a lot of Fortnite coaches and aim coaches in general. Like, I don't like the idea of like saying, "Oh man, this guy I coached him. He got first place at the World Cup." Like I don't know. It's like taking credit for people. Like there's a lot of like, I get it. You got to promote yourself, but at the same time, it's like it feels like you're just taking credit for something that you did not do. Like at the end of the day, a coach is just improving something and not like claiming it's theirs. Like, I think when sorry, like go ahead, Tim.
No, I was just gonna say that I think that just like how you described how it can be a private or public relationship, you know, based on the player and the coach's mutual understanding, right? I think the same goes for those sorts of messages, right? Like, like I could say like, dang, like Balla like really helped me. I would not have won without his help, and I have no mind you know putting out that kind of a message, right? But that might not be that kind of relationship, and you might be taking a risk as a coach saying that to get shot down by the player who then says, hey, like no, like don't like step in my shadow here, you know what I mean? But or step back into my shadow, please. But and so I think that I agree and disagree. I agree that it can be annoying. I disagree that if it's happening, it should be on the player to say whether they have an issue with it or not. And if they don't, then great. The coach should be allowed to take that on for themselves, you know?
Yeah.
I think my bigger well, in a sec. I think like my biggest issue with it is that people are doing simplistic things and acting like it's the best thing in the world. And the players don't like speak up about it. And that's the bigger issue for like, oh, I gave this guy a route, like an early game route. And all of a sudden, like, no, that's not how this works at all. Come on, man. Like, stop. And because of that, he gains credibility and earns himself some business with other people because they saw that he said that he gave Salma out. Like,
Yeah.
That was a completely arbitrary example. I'm not calling anybody out specifically.
Yeah.
It was completely arbitrary.
So, like, part of the reason why I called in about this topic is I'm not going to say any names, but I know there are some coaches in OCE who have they've worked with already good solo players who have then gotten solo placements similar to a level that they've already played at in the past and used that to promote themselves. So I don't know. I just don't think there's.
I would say if it worries you, if it bothers you, communication is king. Either reach out to the coach, you know, they might not give you the answer you like, and then reach out to the player and be like, hey, do you think it's fair that this coach is claiming this much credit for your success? And then 100% you'll have the answer, right? You'll have the answer. Either the player will say, no, not really, or he'll say, yeah, he was great.
Yeah. I
It's the
think it's one
exact
of those
same
things.
thing as the agent thing. Like, defined credibility is literally just you making conversation with one side and then getting other people's opinions about it. That's literally the same thing.
I think it's one of those things as well because it gets shoved. I know why people get touchy with it. It gets shoved down your throat, and it kind of just gets annoying to see, and especially when there's up and coming coaches and they get that little kind of flare of success and they want to write it out and post stuff everywhere. That's where it annoys you. Honestly, take my approach. If someone starts posting like you don't like, just mute him for a little bit. It's so much easier than going into it. If he's coaching this person and they're doing well, whether you think it's worth it or not, and this person's making out like they're the best thing ever and annoys you, just mute him and just move on from it. So I do. I don't even block them because that causes more drama. I just mute people and move away from it. It's so much easier.
Yeah.
And what they're doing doesn't affect me. I'm just going to leave it. But it's a good question. I definitely understand probably. I think I know who you're probably talking about as well. And at this point, I see it as this person's not hurting anyone. If people think they're getting help out of it, then go for it. If people want to spend their money buying a map route and it might be useless, maybe it's the one they send to everyone, so be it. If the Twitter post convinced this person that the $5 was worth this guy's info, then he made money, the other person spent their money, and hopefully both are happy. But I just don't get involved.
It's the difference between something.
Talking about, yeah,
it's the difference between something being hurtful in its own existence versus you like not particularly liking something. If you think if you think it's bad, talk to the people involved. If you just don't like it, ignore it. Right? Awesome. Cop, thanks so much for this question. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks guys for letting me on.
Have a fantastic day.
Are we gonna go? I'm not gonna be the catalyst for it. Do we take the coaching the step further?
I'll be the catalyst. Yeah, I'll be the catalyst here. I mean, and if anybody,
the last Hotline FN, right?
Yeah, no, yeah, it definitely happened since.
Okay.
You know, I've been pretty vocal about it. You know, a little bit on Twitter, but you know, so we've got situations where coaches, you know, in particular, there was the big televised one with Destiny's Jesus, who, if you want to call back again, I'm all for that, Destiny's. And then ever since that big one was publicized, there's been a lot of accusations of like everybody does it, you know, like players looking at other people's. The accusation being that coaches or players are looking at other players' streams during events and handing that information, disseminating that information out to other people in those very matches. This is something that got brought up with Destiny's Jesus working with his teams. It's something that's been accused of other players and even other coaches. Balla, we're talking about the coach thing, and it's
oh, I know what we're talking about.
Yeah. It's become a bit of a topic, right? And I think it should be. It kind of died out a little bit, and without seeing any kind of resolution, and that really bothers me because this is a very glaring present danger for online events and online open events specifically. I think it's a big deal because it ruins the integrity of the match, right? Yeah, entirely. It becomes I have to do this. Yeah.
I feel bad because like it's just gone like down and there's literally been nothing, and I put pressure on where I could to like have something happen, but there's still just I don't know anything about why there wasn't like sure DJ obviously apologized and did whatever he did on he made a statement or whatever, and he's been since then streaming and doing whatever, and it's cool. Like okay, he's not been punished. How do I deal with this now? Like, I like DJ as a person, and I know that he probably made a mistake that he did not mean to do, and he didn't even think of. But he made a bad mistake. It was bad. Like, it could have been terrible. It could have been a whole new Funk Bomb situation where, like, this should not fly. You should not be caught stream sniping and not have anything done. In my mind, Mongol, Benji, and that squad should have been disqualified from the finals. Like, hands down.
I don't. I think 100%. I disagree with that. I think I disagree with that because there's no way for them to prove Like you could say that Destiny's
Okay.
Jesus got unlucky, right?
Yes,
And I think
yes,
there's
yes,
proof there.
yes,
I think
you're
there's
right,
proof
you're
there,
right.
but there's no way to prove who else is or isn't doing it because they all could be.
Yeah.
Everybody could be.
It's not
I
even
could be.
that.
You could be. Nobody would
Yeah.
ever know, right? And
I just don't like Discord calls in open tournaments. I just don't like it full stop. You should not even have the chance of being like, man, I'm about to W key this guy. Like we saw a funny engagement was it with Clicks? It was with Clicks in Canada, wasn't it? Or someone. They got in a fight together.
Yes.
There was no communication given. It was very funny. It was amusing. That was okay. But that could have gone the other way. We could have had a face square on our hands. Just saying. This could have been a, oh, wait, that's you? And even that hesitation, even that like 5 seconds of changing your
Yes.
mind on how you play this fight is now gone against competitive integrity. It's no longer okay. Like you can't know who you're about to fight, and you can't have an
Just
open
knowing that
communication
you're
with
not
them.
in the server with the
Yeah.
person that you're in a Discord call is already breaking competitive integrity.
Yeah,
And,
exactly. Yeah, you
like,
already changed it.
I've
You got
like,
retail.
all the way
I
back
dropped-
since Ziff and crap. It's like this is
Yeah.
sitting in Discord call should be discontinued. We should stop this. I get we need mental support through solos, but like please, guys, there's other people playing the game. You cannot do this, and I've done it myself because like
I don't know.
everybody's doing it.
we're in an arms
don't know
race.
how to handle it.
We're in an arms race, right? Like it's allowed.
Arms race.
Right now, as far as anyone's concerned, just like EJ dashing back in the day, it's allowed, right? It made news sites, small news sites, esports news sites, the Destiny's Jesus situation. It it's out there, you know what I mean? Epic has said nothing, they've done nothing, they've addressed it zero, right? Like, are you stupid for being at the top tier and not doing this, right? Because all you're doing is proving a
they can't
point.
stop it.
Whereas everybody else will be doing it, right? It's like doping. It's like Lance Armstrong and doping, right? Like I can't stop doping. Everybody's doping when they finally come through and hit everybody for it. It's like what, top 16 of the top 25 best cyclers in the world, all trashed, all at once. Their legacies tarnished, and in my opinion, like morally, rightfully so. But in this specific case where it's not even like it's out there, like it's been done and nothing's happening, right? Like
Online qualifiers.
it's online qualifiers.
tournaments.
It's online qualifiers.
The only way we can think about this is the only reason they got punished was for streaming, and Epic doesn't want that. You don't want to punish the people who put them at a disadvantage now for having people there. Like if this is the ability that you can have someone behind you stream sniping for you to give you info. No, again, not saying that was the intention, but I'm saying if you can do that, and the only way it can go against you is if you're streaming it, then you're just going to not stream it, or you're not. You know what I mean? You're just going to get around it. You're not going to stop doing it. It's just
because winning outweighs it, right? Yeah, and so it's tough, and I don't want the answer to be no more online open qualifiers or online events at all. That won't be the case. That won't happen.
Yeah.
Right? But
it's not possible. Just like
it's
it's not possible with
the
way that the structure is built.
Totally. So it's tough. Maybe how would you feel about a forced stream delay? If you're streaming an official event, the rules say you have to have a certain amount of a delay.
Unenforceable. Just the same way unenforceable. Like Tifu's never going to be okay with that. Like think about it. He's never ever going to be okay with that.
That doesn't make it not unenforceable.
With a delay on suck.
It might make it
but I think you can only because you can't enforce and you can't enforce the delay either. You can only check in real time if they currently have the delay on. It just wouldn't. Ugh. What's the
when you catch somebody, you punish them. You can't punish everybody because you can't catch everybody. It's the same way the law works. Like it's the same way crime works. Crime happens. We can't catch it all. But what we do is make it socially unacceptable for people to be caught doing it, to make it socially unacceptable for people to even think about doing it. Same thing with hacking, right? How do we stop hacking? Everybody's hacking. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's the same exact thing. You just make it's such a taboo. It's so bad to do it. It gets you shunned from the community.
Like, let's say teaming.
It's so bad. Same with teaming. That's how we stop teaming. It's because everybody knows it's bad. Everybody knows it's wrong, so they don't do it. That's what we do, right? So punish when you can, when you catch them, and make it a standard. Uphold it as a standard. When you get in a Discord call with your friends, say, guys, I'm gonna mute up while we play this game. I'm gonna come out if I need to. I'll text you guys if I need a chat to bring vibes up out of game, that sort of thing. Like uphold yourselves to a better standard. If you hear somebody about to stream tonight, like no, stop. What are you doing? Like, are you stupid?
Yeah,
like,
you're addicted.
That is how you stop it. Social justice, JT says, is actually more effective, especially in this case. In my mind, that's literally the only.
I agree from the perspective of like that's how I would love for that to be the case. I think that every person individually should engage in that way, Balla, as you've described. But I think that competitively, they're not going to, and they have no incentive to, because the incentive is to do the bad thing and make
Yeah.
money, right? Like,
And
I think-
that's why we need lands, because we need like we need some way to call these people out. Okay, like
Yeah.
look, in other scenes, let me explain the concept of an online player. It's a player that everybody suspects is doing some shady shit, and they never perform at LAN when they get there because they qualify online. And
I
they
drop
get to
what?
LAN and they dog shit.
Exactly.
Exactly.
true.
Like
One thing I wanted to do to
who are you
combat
talking
this,
about, Tim? Because
oh, I drop bodies. I gotta go pick up my cousin from the airport.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Oh,
that's the
true.
change.
Yeah, true. I mean, I want them to. This is obviously for other reasons. I'm sure Balla wants as much as I do for people who make content on VOD reviewing and stuff. Same with you, Tim, and stuff. But they need to turn solo tournament replays back on. It was on for 1 week, and we caught 3 teamers in OCE. 1 week,
Yeah.
and there was 3 people that just got ousted because you could actually go back and prove it. I made a clip of it, and I was like, look, I don't get in drama, but if I don't make a clip on this, it's not getting highlighted. They ended up getting banned. They got their earnings taken away. People made money on the difference of this person teaming. Like, you just turn the replays back on. Why are they not on for solos? It makes no sense to me. Because then on top of social justice, we can then deliver social justice. There's some way to go back and definitively check it. You're not just punishing the people streaming. Obviously, if you're streaming, people see it, and then it's easy to go check replays. But if someone's sus, someone's shady, like that person who goes to LAN and doesn't perform, and let's go back and watch some of their tournaments. What's going on here? Oh, wait a second. You actually have been teaming this entire time, and now we know. Like, it's just we need some way of going back and checking, though. Like, for other reasons as well, to VOD review, for content, everything else, solo replays. Turn them back on. Why do they ever get turned off?
Especially because solos is the most risky form of anything, like any sort of collusion. Solos is the place. Like, you're not seeing collusion in squads at all.
No. Yeah.
That's another thing. Let's freaking play squads. Fuck solos.
Yeah.
At least trios. At least, honestly, I like duos. Like, duos are fun. It was a nice return. Like, I actually really like duos. What hurts though is that
tuning in duos, bro.
Oh, totally. But you
like
see,
those
you could see it in squads also, right? My problem is that I like trios over squads, just personally, not for any objective reasons necessarily. And
you and the entire community, Tim. You and the entire community.
Yeah. I can't see a world. In which they're trying to run duos and squads back to back, just because of how that just creates the weirdest shenanigans, right, with teams. But duos and squads, though, that's easy. That's easy money. No one's getting like snaked constantly.
Duos and trios, you meant.
Yeah. Duos and trios would be pretty tough.
Oh, okay.
Duos and squads would be easy money, right?
Yes.
Easy money. Duos and squads would be the best thing ever. Then you've got people who can 2v2 box fight practice against each other as a single team.
Let's
do that.
I like solos duos or solos.
Solos
I think you
duos.
have to have solos. I mean, whether you think it's the most skillful, again, I understand RNG in the game. It might not be the best representation, but as far as, again, when we talked earlier about the competitive format and watching it and the excitement and having your favorite pro and the storylines and commentating, solos is obviously always king. It's just so much easier to develop. But
all right, guys.
I understand that means there's more RNG though.
We've got to
Are we ending?
Oh, you
rapping?
Well, I got one. I want to get to one more caller. Balla, you see who our next caller is here?
Oh.
If we want to just like grab him grab him right on in here. Talk about one more topic before we move on.
Ooh, hello.
Hey, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Oh, what up? It's your boy, Shy Wager.
Yo, boy.
Swim, but still calling
Yo, boy.
how's it going?
Hey, man, fantastic.
My question, I'm calling from Canada, is what's it called? Hold on, from the street. Okay, my question is basically Fortnite as a platform. We saw Tim Sweeney's kind of tweet where he was kind of hinting at the fact that, there's going to be big changes coming, a lot of creative tools possibly. Balla tried to, slide in there, ask a little bit for comp help, but hey, who knows when we're getting help? Let's be honest. At the same time, how does comp work, right? In the 5-year, the 10-year plan, if it goes towards like a platform creative centric situation, can creative take over battle royale? Can we get like, still types of zone war, BR-ish modes, smaller modes, 50 people? What does the future of Fortnite look like outside of battle royale on a platform?
What do you think the chances are that more people are playing creative right now than are playing battle royale? My guess is it's very likely.
100%.
100%.
Yeah, right now. 100%.
And I think that's very likely, and that's been the case probably since like season 10 or even earlier. Creative is massive. It's massive.
Look at the patch notes for creative and look at they don't exist for
look at the community discussion between the creative dev team and their community. I think that if they continue to pour into creative the things that comp needs, which is a spectator system and matchmaking, at bare minimum, we need those two things. Probably also a way to launch right into a map, right? That's going to be important as well.
it saves so many issues as well. You look at all the most popular games that survive the test of time competitively. It's small team games because it's easy to get the players, it's easy to organize. Trying to get 100 players, even just for practice, right? Like just in a small region like ours, it's so easy to do a 2v2 box fight tournament than it is to do like a scrim mayhem tournament. It's just so much easier. Like, you know what I mean? Like even with the tools there, having 100 players that want to play properly, show up on time, follow the rules, all that, it's still so much harder than just doing it with, you know, even 16 people, like a Zone Wars tournament. Like it's just, yeah. I mean, I think it's definitely the future of it. You can do it anytime. You just jump on, you play with your friend, you have full control. It's, yeah, I think it's definitely an aspect of the
better
game
control the time. Yeah, it's going to continue to grow. And I think that it's not a bad or scary thing for competitive Fortnite. I think it's only a good thing. No. It's scary if all you care about is Battle Royale. Then maybe you should be scared a little bit.
I think it is. I think it really is. Because consider this: you talked about the spectating tools, you talked about the matchmaking tools. You think that they're still being worked on, but like we said, we don't have passions for BR anymore, but we still have passions for creative. It does feel like they are focusing all their efforts on creative, and for good reason, probably for business wise by them. But when you actually think about what can come out of creative that will like be good, like okay, most of the great esports games are mods. Like let's say that for a second too. Like
or were mods to begin with. Yeah.
We're mods to be good. Yeah, they're mods of games that were allowed to be modded and stuff like that, right? To make maps for. So for example, Dota was out of Warcraft 3. It was literally just a map. That could happen with creative. It could. But here's the thing. Are the mechanics of Fortnite actually interesting enough and good enough to play as a competitive game in a creative mode? I say hell no.
I think so. I think it depends. It depends on the competitive game mode. Because if you're trying to recreate Counter-Strike, it won't happen. The shooting mechanics, the movement mechanics aren't there, will not be there. But the mechanics that are amazing about Fortnite, the building and editing, right? I think that there is plenty of room for creative geniuses, guys like, you know, Donnie, Enigma, these guys, to develop a game mode that is competitive and focuses on Fortnite's strengths, right? Like Balla said, he thinks box fights are boring as hell to watch, right? But I don't think that that's the end all. We're not at the end all be all for box fights, right? Box fights solely exist right now. Some people play them for fun, but pros play them as a way to practice box fighting in the BR, right? But if we step away from that and we go, well, what does box fighting look like as an engaging spectator sport and competitive game mode? You can start seeing all kinds of different changes. Things like power positions, unbreakable walls, you know, weapons spawning in a small arena. Like, you know, there's so many different things you could start to approach that, like, I think I disagree with you, Balla. I think that what Fortnite does have going for it, the incredible building mechanics, and some people really like the movement.
Balla, tag me in.
I think that it's totally possible.
All right, are you on my team, Shio? I won't tag you in unless. All right, let's go, Shio Wagger.
I see exactly where you're coming from. The issue with creative is grandiosity, if that's even a word. Like the grandeur of the game, the spectacle of being in that box fight, right? Like you use the builds. Everyone says Fortnite is building. I agree with that to a certain aspect or a point, but like the thing is, the main thing with Fortnite is like using building just to get out of the tough situations. The rest is your brain, the map, like the journey, right? There is no journey in a creative box fight. There's no journey when it's just 30 players. When it's 100 players, you see all of them. There's many storylines, right? Like out of all different games, out of all different fan bases, and it comes together. And then the building is the ketchup on the hot dog, right? That's what it's about.
The relish.
You're asking me to just have ketchup as a meal, maybe with a little bit of meat. At the same time, it's like
no. That's dog. I think that's an unfair characterization.
Is the jumbo dog.
What's the equivalent to you in League of Legends then? What's the equivalent of the battle royale journey in a League of Legends match?
The journey for League is just improvement in rank over time.
No. I'm talking about in a specific match compared to competitive Fortnite.
I'll take that. It's like playing Summoner's Rift versus ARAM. Like, yes, a lot of people play ARAM.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. It's casual. Anyone can play it. Like, there's probably a lot of people playing ARAM more so than ranked. I'll put money on that.
But people said the same thing about like what's the difference then between playing Half-Life and OG Counter-Strike, right? Like it's just Half-Life with a lot of its stuff taken away and new things added.
Like,
the same thing can happen in Fortnite creative.
Do you know the modding tools that Half-Life had compared to creative? Creative is creative.
We're all talking. We're talking about a future maybe state. So why can't future creative get there?
Future maybe say the issue is that like, you know, Battle of Bilgewater, ARAM, Twisted Treeline, and like Dominion, the thing that they tried to push as competitive. We're just a little bit smaller and we're not as grand as the Summoner's Rift experience. Battle Royale will always have that grand aspect, right? When they put millions of bucks on creative, I respected it, but at the same time, I was like, you know, BR is like where the millions of dollars makes a lot of sense. That's where the journey's coming from. That's the amazingness. Creative death one's cool. Put money on it, but like I just don't understand the grandiosity. I'm using that
Tim,
word.
Here's the issue, okay? Epic will never get to what the Source SDK is or what the Half-Life modding tools were. They will never do that because they don't, like, there's something about them where they want their hands on everything. They do not want their game to be used in ways that will allow the things that creative will need.
Oh, it's not some reason. The reason is because it makes it harder for them to sign the advertising deals they like signing. That's the reason. But you know what wasn't as it's very powerful, but not as powerful as the Source SDK and the OG Half-Life 2 modding tools? Warcraft 3 World Editor. And you could also argue that OG Dota was way less grand than Warcraft 3. You're playing on the same map with the same, especially back in the day, the same 10 characters over and over and over again, and it still blew up, took the world by storm, and is still the most played genre in the world.
I don't know how long you played in that Warcraft 3 map editor, but you could spend like, dude, that thing
it's crazy
so
powerful. It supported scripting. It's very complex.
It was just as complex as Warcraft, if not more complex than Warcraft itself, like Warcraft 3.
I'm saying that a creative game mode can be complex. We literally have the tools right now to recreate everything about Counter-Strike aside from the core mechanics. Everything. Every little thing. Like, we can do that in creative right now.
Donnie, can you join the call? Like, I want to know what you think about this.
What do you think?
What do I think? I mean, I'm dodging away from all the complex, like the arguments over which game and stuff for that. All I see is I made a Reddit post about it the other day on the Fortnite page. I was like, this game needs an actual in-game leaderboard, rank system, 1v1, 2v2, 4v4, whatever you want to make it. It doesn't need a lot of players. It will not impact on the core game mode. I always talk about from coming from a smaller region, splitting the game into too many parts will actually kill the battle royale itself. You see PUBG and OCE, we literally don't have servers anymore. You know what I mean? Like we can't even queue on OCE because they split it into a solo, first-person shooter, third-person solos, duos, squads, and it split the loot and then maps, and then you just can't find a game. So I come at it from the perspective of I would love an in-game leaderboard where people can have like bragging rights to some kind of 1v1s. Literally, all I got to do is ready out for a 1v1. You do skill-based matchmaking. I'm gold, silver, platinum, whatever. Like most games, it would take off. It would be ridiculously popular. Even without all this other stuff. Would it get boring after a while? Sure, but as you change it up, it could still be very, very cool. I think creative is next for Fortnite for sure, if they start like accepting it more.
Yeah, true.
I think it's just going to come down to whether or not something is creative that engages people as much as a battle royale mode does. And even if all it is a shortened, even if it's just turbo battle royale, right? Like we had, Blitz, you know what I mean? Even if that's all it is, right? That's all it's going to come down to. Whether or not someone creates something that grabs the community's heart and attention and it feels deep enough.
But I'll make a bold prediction. Straight up, the next mode that'll take off will 100% or like it'll be being able to edit the actual battle royale map and rules. That will be the next step for Fortnite.
That's 100%. That's what Battle Lab should be.
Yeah,
that's what they're moving towards. 100%. Yeah.
People keep talking about they want like a zone wars. Like I want to spawn fourth zone with this loadout here, randomized around the map. Yeah, everyone wants that. You mentioned it
with PUBG, right? Like you said, you always have a PUBG background. That game started taking off competitively once we got to, tune out the loot pool, how many ARs could spawn in certain spots in the range, right? Back in the old days. Like, I still think that this game, even though we've had a $30 million World Cup, is so young. It's a little baby, bro. And like, we just have so much time. Like, to do
we
stuff,
don't get trusted either. Do you feel like that? Like I feel like the players, like Fortnite doesn't trust the players to make decisions like that. They want the gameplay. And look at Stretch Res. They want the players to play it their way. They don't want to give you the tools to play the game the way you want to play it. They want to play it. They want you to play it the way they want to play it. And how
all
they
you have to do, listen, we said this back in the time of the mechs, and I was super distraught and upset. Remember the post Fortnite and the Brute, and they said. This is what we want.
I blocked it out of my memory. Fuck that post.
They said this is what we want. We put mechs in to accomplish this. Like they flat out said, sorry, this is our game and this is what we're doing with it. And then when they took it back a couple days later, they didn't take back the statement. They just nerfed the mech a little bit. I mean, they nerfed it a lot, but they never took back that statement, right? That still holds true, even if we generally like where the game is now. Way more than the previous season, or at least I do. Like that's still their method of going forward.
you seen creative content creators, man? They're exploding. They're like the next
they're
wave,
huge.
man. Like
Yes.
they are huge. They
They're
are
nuts.
massive. Like, yeah, it's nuts.
The
And putting
demand
out-
is there. I just don't
Yeah, the
think they have the tools to do it. The demand
yeah.
is there. We're fiending for that Fortnite building game like that.
Yeah.
They're fiending.
Yep.
But here's another thing to think about at the same time. Like Fortnite is the only game to really have blown up in a significant scale. And I don't think that people are kind of going back yet to the old team-based type of games, the small type of scale, right? Online gaming, we've been all like, since probably 2000s, we've been all like, oh, we want a server with 1 million people in it where I can play. Like we've been hungering for that massively multiplayer experience, that big grandeur type stuff that Shia was talking about, which is why I like also don't really think I see a huge blow up in terms of like 1v1s and 2v2s, because people are really still into this massive game style and stuff like that. I think that isn't gone. That
what's
craze
still
isn't gone. Maybe the
super
VR craze is gone, but not that.
I think what's still super interesting to me is, and again, this is something that can be accomplished in creative right now, is early tournaments. There was an early tournament that was ran. I can't remember the name of the series for the life of me. If someone knows it, please let me know in chat or whatever. But the setup was, it was 4v4, and it was on the old map. It was very early on. I don't think Dusty Divot existed yet. It was still the depot. And it was played, the rules were there was a boundary on the map where you could only go in, if you can picture this, you can only go in the houses portion of retail and then all of Salty. And you had like 2 minutes to land, loot, and then fight. And there was like a timer.
I think you're talking about the 1v1 build fight.
No. It was a
that happened with the
4v4
pros.
event. And it was super cool to me because you got to simulate this sort of mid-game engagement, and players could choose to stick back where they had originally looted, or rush fast, or wait and farm, like whatever they wanted. Like that had a lot of interesting depth to me. That was really engaging in this small team format that still let all of Fortnite's best things shine, right? While mitigating a lot of the worst. So I think there's a lot of room for exploration here in the future.
Well, with the big side things, when you say like that's why you need a leaderboard, right? Outside of these small groups, it's usually the same people. They make their content, they make their YouTube, they blow up on Twitter. Outside of that, though, they get no recognition. It's just being the best box fighter among their friends and stuff. You know what I mean? If you give them a leaderboard and you're like, hey man, I'm diamond at 2v2s or I'm diamond at 1v1s, like it already adds so much more, especially to what is a younger fan base on Fortnite. They just want that level of like clout and that appreciation from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Rather than being like, hey man, I'll wager you because I want to prove I'm better, right? Be like, well, I'm a high rank, so I don't need to wager you to prove. Like, climb the ladder board like the leader and then verse me and we'll see how we go. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think that'd be so much better if it was just within the game. And then it helps Fortnite too.
Yep.
Stop making it that I have to wager my friends, or T1 making a box fight with ladders. Why is that a third party thing? Put it in the game. The tools are so simple. We already have those existing tools in the game. Just incorporate into a different game mode. Just make a constant, like solo FFA Zone Wars. They touched on it, but does any of them play the maps? Does any of them play the game when they put these things out? Did they try it for like, let's just get the whole boardroom together, fire up the PCs, verse each other for 5 minutes, be like, wait, this isn't fun. What are we doing with this map? Like, seriously, like I don't know.
No,
It's
because
just,
they're trusting the data. They go, these are the most played maps. These are the ones we'll put in. Easy money,
that's true.
right? But the problem is that players don't know what they want or need, right? Like that's a common thing. That happens all the time. It's touched on a lot, Shio, you know, by the League of Legends design teams, where they say, no, shut up. Like you actually don't know what you're talking about. We've done this before and you all hated it. It's just, I think that Epic uses their data to a lot of good, but there are certain circumstances where like the majority doesn't know best. Like these maps could be better maps than the solo FFA for everybody, even the casuals who think that what they have right now is the best form of it. Anyway, I agree with you, Aussie. Thanks so much, Shio. We got to get you out of here. Connor is in chat. Connor Rio.
How's the scrim going?
He's pissed.
Are you still alive?
He's pissed.
Yeah, I'm still alive. It's Endgame boys. GG's. I'll be back soon.
Peace out, Shio. Thanks so much. All right, guys, we've gone over time by a good stretch here, but thank you so much.
I like this length.
2 hours? You like hour 45? You into that? You into that? It's hard because normally like we've got scrims or an event going on right afterwards, so we have like a pro on, and they're just like itching to dip.
True.
They're like, this is prime scrimming time. Let's go.
Yeah, yesterday was my announcement. I'm now officially getting paid to talk, so yeah, I'm good.
You're doing great. You're rolling. You're rolling. All right, Aussie, before we send you off here, man, You want to talk to us a little bit about what you've got planned ahead in your future? Obviously, the Australian Open. Maybe let us know when that is, or any other stuff you got coming up here. Plug it. Plug it.
Oh, plug it. I mean, not really, man. I mean, it's not my style, but I'll try my best. Okay. I mean, yeah, I've got AO coming up. Basically, well, no tournaments are on. As you can see, I'm rewatching old tournaments, but that's my style. All the solo cash cups. So I'm now going outside of OC. If you guys don't follow me, I went full time as a content creator a couple months ago, right before they got rid of tournaments. That was great timing. Good job. Well done. But I'm going to be doing, hoping to do NA East, NA West, OCE, and maybe Asia, pretty much all major tournaments, cash cups, and do it whatever they bring out next. I'll be watching all of them. I do a mix of commentating the end games if it's a cash cup, because obviously I'm not going to try and tell the story in a game I wasn't watching. Talk to chat a whole bunch, interact, kind of stuff like this. Ask your guys' opinions and talk about topics during the stream, then throw a bit of commentary in. Basically what I'm doing for the next year and hope it works.
Heck yeah, this is fantastic. You wanna drop your socials real quick?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I'm AussieAntics on everything, guys. So just AussieAntics, no spaces. Twitter. I mean, on Reddit, though, I am AussieAntics, and I thought just because I couldn't get AussieAntics, apparently I'm famous enough now where people are stealing my handles. I've never had that before, but yeah, pretty much Twitch.tv, AussieAntics, and Twitter's where I'm mostly active, though, if you guys want to talk to me or know what I'm doing. So yeah.
Heck yeah. Awesome.
We're looking forward to see you at AO. That's going to be dope.
I am so keen for that. I mean, I want some more info on who's coming, though. I want to get those international big boys announced.
Yeah,
I'm so keen. Like, people know about it, but there should be so much more hype around this than there is right now at the wider community outside of the comp scene. Like, they should be getting hype.
Yeah.
Invite only. Like, this is like solo World Cup level of gameplay we're going to see. So it should be interesting.
This should be, yeah, I'm very excited. This is the most excited I've been to watch an event. I mean, heck, I'm way more excited even than most of FNCS squad season, right? Like, I'm pretty stoked on AO. I'm pumped for it.
It's going to be cool.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us, Aussie. I hope you have a fun rest of your evening.
It was great fun. That was amazing. Thank you.
Peace out, boss.
See you, boys.
All right, Balla.
We broke.
No, I got you. I just had to like click on buttons. I had to, things got weird for a second, but we're back. Oh, wait, things are definitely broken again. Wait, I can fix it. I did it. Just don't walk anywhere.
Okay, I won't walk anywhere. Cool.
Anyway, Balla, thanks again for an incredible episode of Hotline FN. It's been forever. Hopefully, it's not such a long time before the next one. What do you got going on? What's happening for you? What's coming up? Plug your boys.
What is going on? Actually, I don't actually know. We're just gonna make a bunch more awesome content. We're gonna hopefully crank these Hotline FM podcasts, and we're gonna hopefully do some tournaments in the future. It's all hope. It's all dreams. Hopefully, I don't get them crushed. That's basically all I have going on. It's Balla2W everywhere, as you guys always know. Tim, you never plug your own stuff. That's something I'm like confused about. You got to plug your own stuff. I also want to give, now that I'm nice and zoomed in, Betsy is still watching. Link. Mwah. That's all.
Amazing. Boogan says Hotline Cup. We're gonna get your production crew on a Hotline Cup, Balla.
A what?
Are we gonna get your production crew rolling on a Hotline Cup one of these days? We should do that.
Hotline Cup?
We should do that. We should find some sponsors. We should make that happen. Gonna make fun. The thing for me though is if I'm gonna be involved in an event like that, people are gonna get played. I don't know how often the production crew and how much everyone getting involved in is, but there shouldn't be any unpaid volunteers, in my opinion. Period. In this sort of a situation. Okay. Anyway, that's weird tangent. I get it's hard. I get it's hard. Right? Like, yeah, that's just my own. That's the goal I would like to shoot for if I'm gonna do something like that. Right? As lofty as it probably is.
I'm down. I love getting.
Yeah. Right. I love money. All right. Thanks so much, Balla. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your evening.
Bye, Tim.
Bye. All right. What's up, everybody? Thanks for once again tuning into an episode of Hotline FN. This has been episode 18. We've got a huge backlog. This will be available in podcast form and on YouTube. So if you're listening after the fact to the podcast, check it out on YouTube. See our beautiful, pretty faces and our fun, trees and sometimes birds fly by. It's cool stuff. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I do want to plug my own stuff. You can find me here on Twitch on twitch.tv/TIMMCD. It's underneath my little name plaque right there. Got it. And of course, you can also find us under Hotline FN wherever you listen to podcasts. And you can find us under TIMMCD and Hotline FN on YouTube. Now, here's the really important part. I talk about it after every episode. The show only happens Balla only does VOD reviews, and Aussie only gets to do the amazing stuff Aussie's doing. It goes for everybody who takes part in this show. If they're supported, if we're supported by you guys. So thank you so much for all the follows, the donations, the subscriptions that have happened so far. And I really want to urge you, keep them coming. A like, a follow, a subscription, it means so much. And the only reason Hotline FN ever dwindles in in consistency is because I get demotivated. And that's my own issue. It's not your issue. I need to find my own motivation. But damn, does that internet affection sure help. So please keep tweeting us how much you like the show. Please keep liking and following us on our socials and supporting my stream here as well. With that said, send you off, and thanks once again for watching Hotline FN.